Oh well, good morning everybody and welcome to this Friday edition live of the Gareth Cliff Show. Just in case you think we're not live, it has just gone 6:02, so we're actually 2 minutes late. Now I wouldn't do that if we weren't live, you see. This is how you can tell. We may lie and cheat in the media business, but not on this show.
And because I look about 83 years old, can tell you that it's live.
Ben crawled in here almost on all fours, looking like he was, you know, he had drummed up, he had summoned from the depths of his soul the last little dregs of energy. What time did you get to sleep?
Just before 12.
Yeah, I mean so the reason
it's long days.
The reason that Ben is exhausted is not because he's a tired old man, although some people who know him would probably account in that way for his general demeanor. He has been living the dream. And when people say that, usually, they don't actually mean it. They say, like, when one of their mates gets drunk, oh, look at that, okay, he's living the dream. But Ben has been like a kid in a candy store over the last couple of days. He's had the inside track like nobody else. I mean, there have been other people there, but they haven't got the kind of stuff that he's got. And I'm talking about LIV Golf. So good is this. So good is it for Ben, but so good is it for this country, and so good is it for the game of golf and for Johannesburg and for fans of golf and for anybody who's been there, that he'll regale us with tales of it later, even show us a couple of little previews. But if you haven't been following him, I suggest, if you care about any of this stuff, and even if you don't and you would be curious to know what the fuss is about, to go and follow him on social media, particularly on the Instagram feed, which is really, really worth seeing. Massive superstars of the golf game here. People, I promise you, I had no idea who they were just a couple of days ago. I asked Ben yesterday, who's that Charles III dude?
Charles Howell III.
I thought there was just King Charles III, but alas, you see, you learn something new every day. Ben informs me this is some dude who's flown under the radar for a decade.
No, like for 20 odd years now. But he's been good enough to play like big events.
Yeah.
But you probably wouldn't recognize him in person. But this guy's made hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's phenomenal. You said something like $300 million odd that this dude has raked up over the time he's been playing. And you wouldn't know him. If he was standing next to you at the counter at the coffee shop this morning, you'd be like none the wiser.
But he's delivering. I mean, in first round leader yesterday.
Yeah.
Like everyone's talking about all the big names, the big young strong guys, and this oak just puts it around.
Soon,
so impressive.
Soon, even King Charles III will be saying, "Who's this pretender to the throne?"
Who's now richer than him?
Yeah. He probably
because of golf.
Yeah, because Harry's siphoning off of the other King Charles's stuff. Anyway, very, very interesting. We'll talk about that later on. We're also going to be joined by a golfer later. So just to show you, I've almost been completely brainwashed into the world of golf. This morning is a victory lap for you.
It is, Gareth, and it's about time. You know, it's been, 11 years that I've been working with you. I think I finally got the hooks in.
No, we'll be joined by
a long game.
A guy called Haydn Porteous. He's a South African golfer. He's got a hell of a story. We'll find out all about that later on. We've also got Dr. Hanan joining us. We've got Maria Watkins to talk some travel with us this morning, which we like to do on a Friday. Also, Dr. Alistair McAlpine to tell us about these GLP-1's and what they mean. You know, we've been talking a lot in the last couple of weeks about what the effect of these now pretty widespread drugs are for people who not only want to lose weight, but for other supposed health benefits. But we've noticed there is a trend towards some of the things that are not so nice about them. So we thought, instead of us sitting here and between Flex and James and Ben and I, and even Leanne and Mash, talking about what the good and the bad are, none of us know what the fuck's going on. So we thought we'd get an actual expert in. Dr. Alistair McAlpine will join us a little later on so that we can get to the bottom of this.
It's nice to do it from time to time, get actual expert views.
Yeah, smart people.
It's like we care about the subject matter.
Okay, and then just to top things off, we have plenty of useful and interesting info from all over the world and South Africa. I do have to add this quickly. People are asking, where's Leanne? You know, occasionally there's some that ask.
Let me look.
Just check if she's behind or under the sofa or somewhere else, because we might have missed her.
No, she's not there.
No.
James, is she sleeping around the back there?
Oh, we got a message from Leanne. Okay, well, you can play that. Here, let's see what her excuse is for not being here this morning. Okay.
I can't fucking walk properly. My back aches. I can't walk like 200 meters. My back starts aching. My leg starts aching. You can't You fucking cunts!
So, obviously, we'll excuse her from today's show.
She was doing so well the last few weeks, but she's just resourced.
She's just fallen right off the wagon. I don't know what the fuck happened there. So there we go. Sorry, Leanne. And then I see lots of people in the comment section too with plenty to say. Caught a bit of Live Day 1, says Gavin, on your feed. And wow, Stain City's really putting on a show.
It really is, yeah. It's such a big estate with massive undulations and great greenery and areas. So it's a great TV course. Sometimes you go to a course and you watch and it's cool, but it looks very flat on TV. That place is just the full picture.
Black Coffee turned 50. Party looked decent, says Barely Vocal Radio. Well, I think he's only there tonight.
Yeah, he's playing that Live tonight.
Yeah, and then they've got a bunch of very cool entertainment. Listen, even people like me who don't know anything and couldn't really care about golf necessarily, it is an all-round entertainment festival at the same time. It's just, and I have to tell you, it is phenomenal what they've put together there. I've been into Stain City 2 or 3 times in my life. Never played golf there or anything, but they transformed the place into a festival. There's no other way to explain it. I think they're expecting 100,000 people, they said, over the course of these days.
So when the tickets first came online, LIV Golf was 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Then it became 4 rounds. So yesterday was the add-on day. And it looked like it was for many people there yesterday, it was Saturday. It was Saturday in December. But, you know, Gareth, the whole thing is that sport can't just be sport anymore. And I've been saying this a long time now. It's entertainment, so you got to treat it like that. So you can't have an event on and just go, cool, guys, they're finished on the 18th, that's it. You have to have other things. And it's got to be a much broader offering.
So we'll get to that in a little bit, although both of us have much to say about it. And if you have, I don't know, if you have tickets, you're going, if you are interested in it, you can let us know in the comments section. Also, we're going to be doing some new things on the show from next week, so I'll tell you about that a bit later on too. It's just there's a smorgasbord of
New
stuff.
things.
Oh my God, it's a busy day.
I don't even know what these new things are.
I know. I haven't told anyone. You're gonna have to wait and see as well.
It's like Trump in Iran.
Yeah,
Just tells
correct.
no one.
And then he says to, did you see what he said to the Japanese? Yeah. Okay, this is, I don't know if you've got this clip, James, but this is hilarious. So he's sitting with have you? Okay, yeah, look for it because it's worth seeing it in, you know, he's sitting with the Japanese Prime Minister. And the Japanese journalist in the crowd says to him, why you not tell your allies about invading Iraq? And so Trump goes, I'm sorry, could someone translate? You know, because he's like, he doesn't understand. And the journalist says it again. And you can see the Japanese Prime Minister, who, by the way, is very cool. She's like, she drives an old car and she's like an arch capitalist and doesn't take anyone's shit. I mean, she's a real leader. And Japan has churned out a few of those recently. So they're a country that is still very much punching above its weight in terms of global leadership. They just don't tolerate any of the nonsense. She starts shifting uncomfortably in her chair because essentially there are 2 things going on here. First of all, there is the actual story of like how much can you tell if you're about to do something that's never been done before and you need absolute secrecy to pull it off. And just like when he took out the nuclear arsenal that the Iranians were building in Isfahan and other parts of their overall nuclear program, some of it in bunkers some 40 feet deep. You can't really tell everybody. Trump went after a journalist the other day who said to him, why don't you tell us, Mr. Trump, when you're going to hit Karg Island, which is this island where the Iranians process all of their oil? And he said, what are you, stupid? The guy went like red in the face and he said, any president who tells you that is an idiot. I can't tell you that. You're a journalist. He's like, we tipped the Iranians off that we're going to do this. I'm going to do it tomorrow at 11 o'clock, he says. And he like, what a stupid question. And he moves on. Anyway, the Japanese journalist asks him, like, why didn't you consult your allies? Why do you do this as a surprise? He goes, are you kidding? The Japanese are like the kings of surprises. Are you kidding me? He goes, do you remember Pearl Harbor?
Why didn't you tell us about? Why didn't you tell
us about Pearl Harbor?
But he's cracking those kind of 3 drinks in dad jokes.
Amazing.
Like on the biggest stage of
It's just phenomenal. It really is. It's phenomenal. All right. So apparently Timu is now selling, and we got to draw the line somewhere. They're selling steak and seafood online.
How? There's a delivery process that takes days.
This is a trending story on X because clearly a lot of South Africans have decided to buy into this. So food safety expert Yolanda Roots, do you know? Of course you know her.
She sounds like she knows what a salmonella looks like.
She does. So Yolanda Roots says you shouldn't buy imported meat from platforms like Timu. I don't know why people need to be told this, but I appreciate that Yolanda's out there doing God's work because I actually think there's an element of Darwinism that has to creep in here. And if you are buying steaks or seafood on Timu, you kind of get what you deserve. And there need to be things like this. It's like I don't believe you should have a warning label on a toaster that says do not use in the bath.
Sorry, Gareth, is this a unique China to South Africa transaction trade?
Yeah. Unsafe, unidentified species in the meat supply, that's her concern. But I think anybody who believes that they're going to get a good quality steak once it's been shipped here from China.
First thing I'm thinking.
And listen, I'm not one of those people who's going to knock all the Hong Kong. China manufactures plenty of good stuff now, and they have been steadfast in trying to shirk the reputation of rubbish, low-quality Hong Kong products. In some places, they get it right. In some places, it's just not worth taking the chance. And honestly, I don't know why we have to have strict food safety laws or Yolanda Roots or any of these things. If you are ordering a sirloin on Timu and it arrives 2 weeks, 3 weeks later in the sachets, the bags they send you, and you open that up, and you slap it on a pan and you fry it up and you don't think that that's a stupid idea, you deserve whatever happens to your stomach.
I don't have the maths or science on this, but as a country, we have the best quality steak for the least amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's fresh. So you can go to like a dodgy sports club where like someone's grizzled old tunnies behind the bar and you can have a steak, egg and chips that will be completely fine and good for less than 150 rand. None of this makes sense, but also is it actually legal? Because when you transporting food, there's commissions and boards and all kinds of things because foot and mouth and all these other things happen.
Yeah.
You can't just sommer gooi. Like this doesn't feel like a real story.
It is a real story. I'm horrified to tell you there are actually people who've been buying fresh seafood. Forget about the steak for a second.
But even if they're refrigerated, which I don't know how they could, you can't just throw live meats and food across borders.
No, you couldn't normally do that, and you shouldn't. But I'm really half and half on this. I'm like, we need strict food laws, but actually, if you're dumb enough to order your, rump on Timu, I really think that's where the government should just take a hands-off approach and say, go for it.
No, I agree with you. You get what you deserve in life. Yeah. But is this maybe China's first attempt at showing a sense of humor? It's like, these fucking guys will buy anything from us. Let's just put food in here.
I do want to say, you brought up the foot and mouth thing. So we export from South Africa, according to Reuters, 20 to 25 billion rands worth of red meat. That's fantastic. That's really impressive. With the foot and mouth thing, though, we've got movement restrictions across provinces. Of course, there are prices, supply stability, and export earnings we have to consider. And people are worried because it doesn't seem to a lot of people like John Steenhuisen has this under control at all. He's getting a lot of criticism, and most of it is very warranted.
It's unfortunate because he has lots of things in his mouth. So you'd think that he would have a good handle on foot and mouth.
Just help clear that up for anyone who's woken up.
He's quite handy with a knife and fork, is old John. You would think that he would
be more specific, Ben.
He's a big guy. You can see
You're so diplomatic this morning.
You can see he likes food. So being at the very source of what he loves, might be something that he would be,
Yes. Okay, you really you jumped around that almost as if you were employed by the UN.
Well, I've never met the man, so I don't know. I don't know his moral fiber. It's just that he structurally is quite a large guy, which would suggest that his route to happiness is food, and he is working in the coalface of the beef.
So this, in other words, this should be something that he finds easy to care about.
Yes,
it's something that he should be passionate about.
Yeah.
Probably is.
It's like if someone had like a cheap caffeine ban, James would be really upset because that's the heart of his day.
Yeah, didn't he crack open a can of some cheap guarana and
James?
caffeine?
When you look at James, you think Axe deodorant, and then you think the smell of Red Bull. Like he is that look. It's just that show In-Betweeners. If there was like a South African version, he's in that cast. But it's that sort of like slightly smelly sock, Axe, and click of a Red Bull can.
James, how do you like that characterization?
It's pretty on brand, actually.
There we go. He says it's right on brand.
Yeah.
See? There's nothing like someone who knows themselves. And I admire that. I think that's quite admirable. Well done. Okay. Two things I got to bring back this morning, and I want to get them out of the way as soon as possible so we don't delay or linger too long on the subject. But we've been talking a lot about estate agents who are creating content. I found someone, she came up in my feed. My algorithm's screwed up now. Totally screwed up. It'll never be the same. So now I get estate agent posts. And I got to give this woman credit. She's from the South and she sells property, but she gets straight to the point. And you'll see I cut it because she gives out her number. And we've got such monsters in our audience, such awful, satanic people that they will call her nonstop today. So I had
Carl will call her.
Yeah. So I just thought she didn't deserve this, but I want to congratulate this woman. She's doing what all estate agents should do and nothing more. We don't want you to do what those two Kiwi chicks do where they make those cuck AI videos of like flying through the ceiling, any of that cuck. This woman from the South, she should be the gold standard. She's there in the yard of this property. She tells you where it is, and she gets to the point, and then she gives out her number. That's really all we need, ladies and gentlemen. So please spread this around to all your estate agent friends, people who are in the property business, and tell them to follow her example. I want to congratulate this lady. Show everybody what I mean.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a brand new listing loading in MaMkhize Lifestyle Estate.
There we go. See? She doesn't fuck around. She's not trying to entertain you.
I feel like there should be more, though.
No.
She showed half a garden.
No. This is where you go wrong. We don't want... What do you want? She's giving you a number. She's letting you into her life. She says,
Tell me
this is where it is.
Tell me a redeeming feature about that house.
No, she'll tell you if you call her, which is what we want. We don't need it all over the internet.
Why would you want to call her if you don't know what you're calling about?
She's not showing off Buckingham Palace. Did you see what she's got in the background there? What do you think? She's going to give you a 15-page brochure?
Are we talking 2 bedrooms, 3, 4? Is there a...
You can find out if you phone the woman. We don't need to pollute the internet with a fucking breakdown of every property in South Africa.
The dog's got to see the rabbit a little bit here on this one, Gareth.
Show it again. I think there's plenty in there. You're not looking carefully enough. Just take a look again. Here, you need to see this.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a brand new listing loading in MaMkhize Lifestyle Estate.
I mean, I don't understand. What more do you want?
Okay, look, you know where it is. You know it's a secure estate.
Right.
But what are we double garaging?
Phone her.
Ensuite bedrooms?
How much? Let me ask you this. How much do you care that you want to ask all these questions? You're so nosy. Why don't you, if you care enough, if you actually are, this, you see what she's doing? She's genius. This is genius. She's not putting out content and telling a whole lot of people who don't care because they're not going to buy in MaMkhize Lifestyle Estate. She is narrowing the field. She's only interested in serious buyers. Serious offers only.
Serious people for that particular estate. I get it.
Yeah.
But you got to have,
if you want to know more.
You got to have, I mean, that's like saying, come to this event, and then you don't say the date, you don't say who's the entertainment.
It's the same as, If someone sends you one of those save the date things, all they do is tell you there's something going to happen around this day. If you don't know them...
Save the dates are different. It's like showing this is our event.
If you don't know them and you're not interested, see, Debbie. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie gets it. She says, that was perfect. She leaves you one. She leaves you wanting more.
Debbie, you know a lot more about property. You want to get more information. So I'm trying to just side with Gareth on this. What is going on there? I mean,
no.
unless
See, it's people like you.
Unless she's a specialist of
it's
Albertson
people like
lifestyle estates.
you that are creating this glut of estate agent content that is poisoning the well. That woman should be lecturing everyone in property, including Gareth, what's his name? Soma. And all of them. They should all be watching her and learning. Shut up and learn. Debbie's right in the comments.
I agree with you. Less is more, but give something.
I know you're a big fan of Sylvia.
Yes.
We haven't seen a clip of hers for a long time, but I have to tell you, despite her being dead now and having had a tremendously successful career as a psychic, a lot of people are finding old clips of hers and are starting to question whether or not Sylvia had any psychic powers whatsoever. I know.
Scandalous.
I know. To some people, this is sacrilege. What I've just said now is a kind of blasphemy.
The woman is literally a saint.
To some people, that's probably true. But I want you to watch this clip because I feel that this clip gets to the heart of why she may have been less reliable as a psychic than many of us have been led to believe. And I don't know for sure, but this left me with a couple of doubts. And even this person who asked her the question, they kind of, after she gave her answer, you could see they were not satisfied. She tried again. She tried to cover over her answer with some more details, but it just didn't. It did not hit the bullseye. And I'm starting to think maybe Sylvia was a charlatan. I know I'm going to get a lot of heat from people in the comments because we've got massive fans of Sylvia's. I know you're a massive fan of Sylvia's. Sure. And there are plenty of things, don't get me wrong. There are things about Sylvia that made her, the raspy voice, the whatever it is, the emphysema, whatever she's got going on there. She, in her time, she was ahead of her time. I just question whether or not she actually knew what she was talking about. And this is a good example.
Boyfriend tragically, a few years ago, they never found him. And I've had such a hard time since, every day.
The reason why you didn't find him is because he's in water. And find him in water, it's like the girl is missing in Aruba. You can't find somebody.
Well, it was September 11th. There was no, he was a fireman, but there was
no, see, I keep seeing him in water. Is there any way he could have drowned in water some way?
They never found a piece of him. Nothing.
From 9/11.
Because he says he couldn't breathe and he was filled with water. Well, if they were trying to put the fire out, Montel.
They could have, yeah.
You see how the woman who asked the question, whose husband died on 9/11 as a firefighter who was trying to put out fire, literally the opposite of water, fire. And Sylvia says, no, I'm definitely seeing water. It is possible, she says, that he was trying to put out the fire with some water and drowned.
I love her theory, though. It's like if you're in water, you can't be tracked.
No. Yeah.
That's a great, fail-safe. It's like she used that 1 in every 7, I'm sure.
I'm sure. So, I don't know. Not her best appearance and perhaps the last time we'll indulge Sylvia on the show.
But general, 9/11 trauma, and she's going, nah, that was a hose.
All right. We are going to talk about GLP-1's. I think that's what they are. The weight loss drugs everyone is on at the moment.
Is that what made Leanne so angry earlier?
I can only guess. But I want to show you a couple. This came up on my feed this week, and I don't know whether the weight loss drugs are as big a problem as the filters, the veneers, and the quality of this of what these people posted. Okay, now they posted this. No one was trying to set them up, make them look bad. It's not as if whoever did this wasn't the people trying to represent themselves. And I got to say, there are some people. I had a friend once, and she used to post pictures of herself. I say she was a friend. She used to post pictures of herself that were smoothed out, edited, filtered. There was something she had some app that she was using where you almost couldn't see the borders of her face smearing into the background. It was hectic. And always she looked as if she was almost 6 years old, despite being well into her 40s.
Yeah.
But she has nothing on this couple. Nothing. And this seems to be a look people are actually going for. They want to look like this in real life. They can't, obviously. They've done things to these pictures. But take a look at the veneers. Take a look at the skin tone. Take a look at what's happening here. And if someone can explain it, we've got very smart people who listen to watch this show. I would love to hear your explanation. Look at that. The fuck is going on there?
But those are English people, right?
Yes. In fact, Katie Price, a well-known English woman, and I don't know who Carl Woods is, but apparently they've broken up. And I don't understand why, because to me they look AI-generated anyway, so why not just keep them together in AI? Katie Price, that's from The Sun. Katie Price and Carl Woods split. And then Ryanair says, very sad. Unrelated, we fly to Turkey.
Yeah, I don't even think there's a lot of filters here. I think that's actually how they look.
Well, I think if you look at their teeth, you could, and keep the picture up there, James, if you took the teeth, everything between the upper and lower lip on him, and you pasted it onto everything between the upper and lower lip on her, it's the same.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing about veneers, I guess. And you paint that up as white as you want. But everything else, I think, like English people live on tan cans and that kind of crap.
So
Spray
you think that's how they look in real life?
Yeah, I really do.
Wow.
So Katie Price has looked like that for a long time.
Yeah.
And she comes from a long line of people who've wanted to look like that forever.
Yeah, probably true.
And that's,
I got to say, I'm shocked.
Gareth, I mean, I just think you're being quite culturally insensitive at this stage. I think that's what.
By the way, I do see this was posted in 2022. See if you can find us any other pictures of Katie Price and Carl Woods, because I don't think they've got better.
Well, they would have maintained to a certain degree.
You think so?
It is a artificial look they've got going.
Okay.
I mean, Gareth, you could look like Carl Woods.
Would I want to?
I didn't say you did, but I'm saying you could.
I think I would frighten small children. People would think I was a cardboard cutout. They had these things that
think you're about to become an Iranian leader.
Yes, correct. Cartoon characters in real life, says Bitcoin, but spot on.
Yeah.
Ben, I was at LIV Golf yesterday, and had cutouts of some of the players, and I went into the merch store with my brother, who I was there with, and he was going to buy some hats for his kids. And there was a cutout of one of our golfers who was there yesterday. Could have been King Charles III, for all I know. It looked, for a second, I was like, oh, there's a golfer in here.
Was it that good of a cutout?
Well, that's how these guys look to me. If I walked around, people would mistake me for a cardboard cutout Ayatollah. Telling you.
Gets work though, huh? Don't knock it.
James has a few pics of what you look like with long hair, medium and long, even with a beard. Yes, we've been through those, but let me tell you, it still looks like me. I don't look like I've been AI generated, and we've got to stop this. It's going to be disappointing for people when they really meet you if you do this to all your photos.
Yeah, but Gareth, again, you are your environment, eh? Because the weather's always so shit there. When you are orange, it's such a status play. It's like when I was in Israel working with those Thai guys, it's a massive status thing to be very pale of skin. So as manual laborers, they do not expose the slightest part of their skin to the sun. It's 40 fucking degrees, and these oaks are sweating about a clavers, but you can't be seen to be in the sun because it's sunny outside all the time. So if you're dark skin, it shows that you work outside.
B3636 says, oh yeah, that's lovely. I look like Jesus. That's fantastic. I'm going to use that when I start my church.
That's actually so weird. That person there looks more like a combination of your brother and sister than it does of you.
You think maybe I could be a BG with that look? There is moving all around.
That just looks like you've stolen some money from a church.
Okay, well, B3636 says, we had a friend post a Facebook photo like that of themselves, and one friend commented that the wife doesn't look real, but happy anniversary anyway. It made me weak. Well, you got to call these things out. Ben, did they sell you on veneers when you went for hair transplant, says Bitcoin Butch?
Very different place, huh? No,
okay.
I don't think I need veneers, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't want any. I got decent teeth, I guess.
Okay, and then Sade says it's a Timu version of Mel and Piet Viljoen, which is so insulting to Katie Price and Carl, what's his name?
There isn't a Timu version of Mel.
I mean, Mel and Piet are the Timu version of, I don't know, Posh and Becks.
They are the delivered steak of our era.
Yeah. So did you hear the latest?
No.
So Mike Bollace has been... Mike Bollace, who's South Africa's greatest freelance investigative forensic.
Someone just called him nosy, but yeah, he's freelance.
Oh, well, he knows his stuff.
He's
right?
very entrenched in what happens in this country.
Apparently, he's been following Mel and Piet for a while because they did some bad things in this country that he's investigating them for. But it turns out Mel's now saying that it wasn't Piet, it was all her. And they must leave Piet alone. It's not his fault. She was doing all the shoplifting on her own.
That's quite romantic.
She either wants all the credits or she's trying to protect her man. You know, which is more than I can say for Hillary Clinton. I don't know. I have to tell you, I've never cared less about the end game for any two people in the world. And there are a lot of clips of Mel from Desperate Housewives or Real Housewives of Pretoria, or whatever the fucking show she was on in South Africa. There are lots of clips of her going around about how she was a skellum before she even left South Africa. And now she's just an international skellum. Belly Vocal Radio says he's going to Turkey for his hair transplant. Speaking of which, Ben, which golfer was it that you asked about the hair transplant?
Oh, John Rahm. So during the Ryder Cup last year, there was so much abuse of the European players. Like the fat guys were told to get on Ozempic, the bald guys were told to get hair transplants. And John Rahm is like one of the game's greatest superstars, okay? So he got approached by one of those Turkish places, and he thought it was funny, so he posted on social media.
Okay.
But so one of the guys on his team at LIV Golf on Legion 13 is a guy called Tyrrell Hatton, and he always has the hat on because he is. I mean, he's a very rich man, but he's bald. He's balding like quickly. So I wanted to kind of throw an angle towards that.
Well, you must have asked the most interesting question at the press conference because everyone else's questions were like, "Oh, how are you enjoying South Africa?"
Yeah, it's unfortunate what guys do. They just feel like they try to tee people up for sound bites. But yeah, I'm finding like so Dimitri, who's on the bounce show quite a lot with us. The two of us are sitting right at the front of this press room, and we're having such a great time. This is my first ever press conference that I've been to and asked questions at, and it's so much fun. So John, I basically said like, "Is Tyrrell, are you going to get a hair transplant?" That's where I was going with that. And surprisingly, he didn't take it as well as I hoped he would.
Well, maybe this is a good opportunity. We've got a bit of time before Hanan to talk about LIV. You're only 2 days deep. I mean, the first day was the Pro-Am, which most people were not invited to.
Yeah, so I went. Tuesday was the media day where we had the most time. I wasn't there for the Pro-Am, and then it started to rain, and then yesterday was actual day one.
Okay.
Yeah, Gareth, it's an international event. Like I know it's LIV Golf for South Africa, but international people and international money has made this what it is. It is so much bigger than even I expected. The players are even saying it's so much bigger than they expected. Like Charles Schwartzel, Louis Oosthuizen yesterday, they were tearing up in the first tee. The first tee vibe was, okay, it's not as big as a Ryder Cup, so it's hard for me to say it's like the Ryder Cup because I've been to the last two Ryder Cups and they were amazing. There was something special about yesterday that was right up there in feeling. A lot more sort of goosebumps, a lot more the feels. And Charles Schwartzel, Louis Oosthuizen are international golfers in their 40s. They've seen the world. They've done it. Charles Schwartzel's won a Masters. Louis Oosthuizen's won the Open at St Andrews. These oaks have been on the bigger stages. And both of them said yesterday that it was bigger than they ever thought it could be. It was the biggest moments in their careers. Dean Burmester said it was the best day of golf ever. And the guys were like tearing up, even in the press conference afterwards, because it's one thing to say, we're doing this in this country, and then they build this and you go, shit, this is amazing. And then you put all the people on it.
Yeah.
It was just, it's so larger than life, and people are just having the greatest time. Like the party hall is exactly what you expect it's going to be. It's so out of hand, and it's just so, like everywhere on a live day, there's anticipation. There's anticipation for certain players. There's anticipation about what guys do on certain holes. There's obviously anticipation of the start. And it's all just right. Like, I know it's excessive, and the purists might not like the music, and there's certain things you can hate about anything in life. But it's just like to see guys come in after shooting amazing scores in the press room, and what they want to do is they want to talk about the event rather. Like, you just don't see that kind of stuff.
See, I really didn't know a damn thing about this, but then I saw that there are teams, and we've got the Southern Guards or whatever. It's our rhino is the logo.
Those are oaks.
4 South African guys who are playing in a team. And even if you don't necessarily play very well, but let's say 1 or 2 of the other guys on your team plays extremely well, your points go up. So it's also, there's a little less pressure.
Well, it's kind of more pressure, because if you are the weak link in the team, then you bring the team down. So all 4 scores count. I think when it first started, they had, 3 scores out of 4 counted. So one oak would just blow out completely. But it means so much to these guys to win the team competition. And because you get Ryder Cup, you get President's Cup, there are team things around. But these oaks play it in every live event, and it's a massive thing now.
I saw there was an Australian team called the
Ripper
Rippers.
GC.
Ripper.
Yeah, and the captain's got a lovely flowing neck curtain.
What a mullet.
Well.
I saw him teeing off on one of the holes. Again, I never thought you'd ever have to bear witness to me using those words in a row in that particular order, but I watched an Australian with a glorious mullet teeing off. What's his name?
Cam Smith. So at the party hall yesterday, I put the clip on Instagram. Like, guys were doing shoeies as he walked past. Whipping off their shoes, downing full beers out of them. Because that's a very Australian culture thing.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
The fanfare around these things is hilarious. It's just so huge. Yeah, so the thing about the team event is that, okay, so we spoke about the concert. That's the big dynamic around LIV. There's this huge stage, and when you drove out yesterday, you would have seen it. It's monstrously large construction. So at the end, the winner gets up there with his caddy with the trophy, and it's like everyone cheers. And then the team gets up, the winning team. So the big competition is for us to be as big as Adelaide. Adelaide's amazing. There's nothing to do in Adelaide, of course. It's just nothing. And it's all flat, and everyone just walks there. But like, they've done it so right. I think they had 125,000 people. I mean, I think they're into the year 3. It's a spectacle which it's hard to actually really put into words how huge this thing is.
Sade says in the comments, crikey, a fucking ripper.
4 of them.
It's spot on. I do have to quickly interrupt our discussion of LIV Golf and the many things that we're going to talk about in sport in a second, just by referring to the fact that someone has re-entered the chat in terms of comments. One of the original OGs of the comment section has been quiet for a long time because I think he felt put upon by the rest of the people in the comment section. It's a wild and dangerous place, the comment section. I do not suggest that if you are of mild manners and of a gentle spirit that you engage with anyone in that. The comment section is like a maelstrom, a cauldron of fiery dragons who will turn on each other at the smallest and most inconspicuous possible slight. They will just devour each other. So Mapello is back.
All right.
Mapello's back. He says, morning, everyone, out of the blue. Morning, Mapello. Welcome back, dude. He says, I just tuned in. I'm now a DJ on the side. Over this short time as a DJ, I've discovered that most DJs are crooks. Or at least not good people. They say it's part of the game. Yep. I mean, I'm not even going to defend them.
So he even confirmed his part of the game.
Ah, Mapello, welcome back, man. No, he then gets told by a Bitcoin bot, we missed you criticizing the show, Mapello. And then he says, I've been listening quietly. Yeah. It's let me tell you, it's wild. It's wild in there. Never change, any of you. Never change. All right. Let's take a look at some sport. I'm told reliably by James that Dr. Hanan is not available this morning. At the last minute, he has some emergency he has to deal with. So we'll get into some sport. Let's get straight to the weekend's action. We've obviously covered a little bit of the golf, but that's going to be your main focus. You're there until Sunday, right?
Yeah, Sunday all the way through. So my good mate from Cape Town, Mike Walton's flying up this morning. And Mike and I have seen some jaws in our life. So we've been friends since the age of 10. And he's come up for this one. And you know, married guys, when they get away from home, they want a bit of freedom. They want to go stay out. They want to party a bit. I mean, Mike and I are like, we're a good team. So I've got 3 days of him. And I've got 3 days of just all of this. So Monday's
You're going to need the whole week next
Monday's going to be rough. But yeah, it's a good sporting week because obviously Champions League is now at like proper good stage now. So the big knockouts. James, do you want to just quickly butt in about how good Liverpool were?
Can people hear you, James, before you butt in?
It's just that, James, I obviously give you so much shit. So when you have the chance to have a positive thing, I also want to give you the same attention.
I appreciate that. We did come from behind to win. It's unfortunate that someone had to lose their finger, though. That's what I will say.
James, I don't know if we can go back to you again. I mean, that was weak. You've just had a Red Bull, and that's all you've got for us.
No, it doesn't give him wings. It gives him a vagina.
Thanks, James. So away from James's vagina, it was a good weekend. So basically we're going into the quarterfinals now, and the whole dynamic around the Champions League was that the one side was very, very strong and the other side was quite weak. The weak side being where Arsenal was because they just have a really good luck with the draws. So Barcelona were the other strong team on that side, and they absolutely humbled, thrashed, belittled, destroyed Newcastle, basically.
Sure.
7 goals.
That's devastating language. Must have been devastating to watch.
But at that stage of the game, if you're a top flight footballer in a top flight competition and they score 7 goals, I mean, like, wow, it's
that's like when Flex was a famous footballer for about 2 weeks. And,
I don't even think Orbit FC have actually conceded 7 this season, have they, Flex? Definitely games you played. Yeah, so
that's not
Barcelona beat Newcastle 7-2. Arsenal at home, they were always going to win. They probably should have won 7-0 too, but Leverkusen were quite plucky. So they won 2-0, so they go through. Spurs, who can't win at home, all the relegation jokes or whatever, to their credit, they beat Atletico Madrid 3-2. But because they got so hammered in the first leg, they're also out. Liverpool beat Galatasaray 4-0. James is queefing on the side that didn't quite actually package how big that result was. Because there is so much pressure on Arno's slot. There's so much pressure.
Sorry, James, we couldn't hear you over there.
Yeah. Shame.
The queefing. Okay.
Flex sits next to that. And then, Bayern Munich doing what Bayern Munich would always do. Chelsea also got completely hammered. PSG beat them hugely again, this time at home. Man City are out. Real Madrid beat them. And then Sporting came out of nowhere to beat those fishmongers from Norway. Bodo Glimt. I think they're from Norway.
Okay.
Yeah, so here we go. Quarterfinals. This is what I'm getting to. This is the big thing here. Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich for a quarterfinal is huge. Bayern Munich are... Yeah, thank you, James. Bayern Munich are a really, really good team. And they're so strong in the Champions League. And because their domestic demands aren't that great, they can really position themselves to do well in this tournament. Paris Saint-Germain will be beating Liverpool, so that's where the story ends, and the season ends completely. And then Barcelona, Atletico, it's the all-Spanish affair. That'll be a nice tune-up. And then Sporting will take on Arsenal. So Gyökeres, who plays for Arsenal, came from Sporting. And that'll be all these games over 2 legs. So we are looking for the inevitable, and we've been saying it from the start. Arsenal. Wow, James, this is so much prep in here.
My God.
So, yeah.
Where did you steal these graphics from? Okay, so you just stole them from UEFA.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, so 7th and 8th April, and then 14th, 15th April, and then that leads us into basically the inevitable PSG Bayern semi on the one side. And Arsenal, Barcelona semi on the other side. Guys, it's getting exciting. It really is. Right. Not quite as exciting as this Sunday, though. It is the Carabao Cup. 6:30 on Sunday. So the first chance of silverware in England in the Premier League is this weekend. So the Carabao Cup is all the teams in the league who play for the Premier League, they play for a cup. So some people say it's a lesser trophy. I say this year, because of how things are sitting, it's a huge trophy. And because Man City and Arsenal are in the title race, of which Arsenal are now quite well ahead, it is the first chance to have a big psychological blow coming into the crunch time of the season.
I don't want to sound like an idiot. How do you spell Carabao Cup?
No one knows.
It?
Absolutely
really?
No one knows.
It's a mystery.
My co-host on the On the Bounce show calls it the Carabao Cup.
Oh.
Not because he's simple. I just think that's how he thinks it's spelled. So it's Carabao.
So what does that mean?
It's a beer.
Oh.
But I've never ever heard of someone having a Carabao.
I've never heard that word in my life, and I immediately thought, well, it must mean caribou, as in the antelope, right? I thought maybe it's named after the antelope, and it's some trophy with horns.
James, keep up as a picture there of a Carabao. Said no one before.
No, I had no idea this was a thing. I mean, I knew there was this cup because you've mentioned it before, but what did anyone? And don't lie if you didn't know what that was. Don't pretend now that you. Oh yeah, I know.
Well,
I knew it was a beer. It's like that chip shop that Ryan in Ireland told us about.
Chicken in.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Well, the thing is,
it's
it's the most affordable of things to sponsor in that level. So the FA Cup is, I think it's the Emirates FA Cup, so it's big money. The Premier League is, so you can get away with the Carabao coming in. But I've been to England a few times. I don't recall seeing a Carabao tap in a bar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sade says, this is what Liverpool fans do with their time. They create the charts for other winning teams.
Wow, that's one of the burns of the season. James, please can we clip that? Or do you?
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and then there's a bit of rugby.
No, but before you move on from football, you brought in this morning, and I'd love for you to be able to display it, but we can't with the green screen we use here because it just makes it blue.
Yeah,
is the new kit for Bafana for the World Cup this year?
James, can you just throw that to me quickly? I have, and I've.
Be aware, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the actual color that you. This is not the color you will see on the shirt, but it's actually a nice kit. I'm quite impressed.
So you know, like I've become a big footballer in the last sort of 3 years because I just think it's such a great thing. Like I can rip off James, at the same time Flex and I can talk about stuff, or I can rip him off and vice versa. It's a language of much love.
Yes,
and I have a series of fantastic football kits, and I think this might actually be my new favorite.
Okay, it doesn't. Just bear in mind, everybody, it is not blue in real life. Have you not got the picture that he sent you?
It's a beautiful green. No, I think this is actually okay. It's not keying that badly.
Okay.
It's a beautiful green, and Adidas have done something very special here. It's an old vintagey kind of retro look.
Yeah.
Because normally only the big European teams get it.
Yeah, it's even got that gangster thing in the middle.
Look how cool this new Bafana kit is.
Logo. And by the way, when I say gangster when it comes to Safa, I don't mean as in like gangster. I mean like actual crooks.
So that's
that along, nice of them to include that, yeah.
That along with my Arsenal third kit of the season.
Your favorites.
Yeah, so I'm wearing that today at LIV because it's the big Friday, Friday.
Are those available now?
Yeah, so it's from right now.
Wow, okay.
That is probably the first one in the open. Okay. As of today, that kit is now available. And because it's a World Cup year, and people are going to be so excited about watching the World Cup, that's the away kit. The traditional yellow on green combo is the home kit.
You got Carabao for us to look at? Okay. Oh, look at that.
So that's it.
Yes, it does have something to do with looks like a steer rather than an antelope.
Okay, so I got the spelling right.
And Tawadwag? What? Tawandang.
They've got a rosé beer.
Good God.
How much team pregnancy are these people wanting to have?
That's a frightening idea. Tawadang rosé beer.
Can you imagine what the Carabao factory looks like and how many stray dogs are around it?
Must have a lot of sawdust.
Wow, a rosé beer. That's when you know, huh?
I don't think that the
English
marketing
summers.
director of Carabao has really thought through this enormously expensive sponsorship of this cup to sell that shit beer. Really. How embarrassing. They must have surplus money. There's no other explanation for it.
I reckon they're just pumping it into the Midlands of England.
Sure,
Those
pubs.
Vicky Pollards are going around with like coolies. There's like 3 of those in each of their cots. That's why they got so many kids to keep the Carabaos cold. Walking mini fridges.
Patrick says that kit is lacquer. I approve. Who the fuck is that?
We're learning more about. Is that Mr. Carabao?
Is that Mr. Carabao? Wow.
So is it an Asian beer? I'm so curious.
I'm trying to squint to see if the beer gets better, but it's not making much of a difference.
I would like a Carabao.
Apparently the caribou, to go back to what I thought it was, is now a sacred animal in the UK. That's according to somebody in the comment section. And Mapello says, I saw someone who looks like James on the Real Housewives getaway thing in Brazil. This is one of the producers. He looked so much like James. Send us a picture of that, please, Mapello. We'd love to see. We thought James was one of a kind, but clearly the factory that makes him is the same place that makes Carabao. All right. I misdirected you away with the kit, but you were about to tell us about other things.
No, that's fine. It's also rugby. And the Six Nations ended last week with an incredibly interesting match in that the English, they were all fired up to not be completely shit for another week because they were meant to be the favourites and meant to be the best team in the world, blah, blah, blah. And, they had a terrible Six Nations. They had the worst Six Nations ever. As in ever. For as long as they've been playing Five Nations into Six Nations, this is the worst they've ever done. They finished second last. Only Wales, who's basically self-tan and Axe body spray, they are the only ones that were worse than them. So they went into the game against France and they played bloody well. It's an exciting match. They were winning all the way through to the end. They thought they got it. And then the French kind of got a kick over it right at the death to win it. And it was such a cool match in that it's giving these guys so much false hope that they're winners. It really is. I mean, Six Nations guys, come at me if you want. But yes, it was a very entertaining Six Nations. But I don't think it showed the great quality of the team, of the teams in playing. Scotland couldn't get it done against Ireland again, which shows massive BMT issues. Ireland couldn't get it done against the bigger teams, so they, again, don't win it. England were shit the whole way through. And then France were actually just teetering towards the end. So yeah, sure, have your best Six Nations ever, but you guys are not going to do well against the Springboks. I don't think this means you're going to do well at the World Cup either. If you're conceding that many points to a team that lost to Italy, France, you're not that great. And that's just my take on it.
Okay.
The URC is still backing, it's always there in the background. It's kind of like a semi-lit braai. It's going to produce something at the end, but it's there. So Bulls are at home against Cardiff. That's today, actually, tonight. Oh. So you can go from LIV Golf. No, you wouldn't want to miss black coffee. No, you can look. If you're not going to LIV Golf, go to Loftus. It's not the same, but you're still out of the house.
Okay.
So Bulls Cardiff tonight at 7. Tomorrow, the Lions are hosting Edinburgh, 2:45. The Sharks are hosting Munster. That's a big game for the Durban people.
Yes.
That'll be at 5 o'clock. And then the Stormers are playing Sunday at home against the Dragons.
Very good.
That's not a Game of Thrones reference. Those are Welsh people. So they'll be taking them on at Sunday at 3. And guys, ultimately, LIV Golf is the hugest thing right now because we get to watch it in our own time. So today, the action starts just after 10. They brought the shotgun start forward a bit because of inclement weather, which is inevitable this time of year. So Charles Howell III and Bryson DeChambeau from the Crushers team, they're leading right now.
Right.
8 under, right off the blocks. The cool thing about this is that the big names in LIV, okay, like Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, those guys have played in SA before. So they started out great. They know the conditions. Sergio Garcia, 7 under. Brandon Grace, 7 under. John Rahm, 7 under. The Crushers are doing hugely well at the top, but the other guys aren't doing so well. Charles Schwartzel almost didn't play yesterday because he had a bad back. Relatable, I know what he's going through. But he spent 4 hours warming up and
the South African team's done very well.
But he almost didn't start. The biggest moment for these guys, and he almost didn't start. So adrenaline got him through yesterday.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see how he maintains that today. The Southern Guards are joint leaders right now with Smash GC. And 3 days more of this. So team.
I must tell you, I found the team name Smash GC a little bit of an affront. I think that's quite a rude way to welcome me to golf for the first time.
I thought so too. Yeah.
But okay. You guys choose your names. I'm not going to take it personally. Bit fucking rude, but okay.
Do you feel better with Ripper GC?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, fucking Ripper. Yeah, that's good. It's Australian accent too. That's what makes a difference.
Yeah, guys, look, there is obviously other sport kicking around, but
That's enough for now.
there's enough. There's lots of stuff. Go
Yeah, my
Arsenal.
cup runneth over.
Go Arsenal. Have a Carabao if you can find one.
And trust me, you will, if you go to LIV Golf, you'll catch a flash of Ben, like out of the corner of your eye. He's everywhere. He's in the media thing. He's on the course. He's
Did like a casual 10Ks yesterday. I hardly broke a sweat.
it's
My
phenomenal.
mind was just elsewhere.
All right, I do want to talk about this because we have been, let's just say we've been suspect of a lot of the things that we see going on in the world of GLP-1s. And we've spoken about it on the show a couple of times. And I thought it would be a really good idea to get Dr. Alistair McAlpine on. He's the CEO and founder of AndroLab. So he's a dual qualified medical doctor and dentist, which is tremendous. Specializes in men's health, hormone optimization, and preventative medicine. And through his work at AndroLab, he focuses on areas like testosterone health, metabolic function, weight management, and overall performance. He helps patients to take a more science-based, long-term approach to their health rather than chasing quick fixes, which I like the sound of, and that immediately makes him a lot more credible than some of the people that you'll see on Instagram. So, Doctor, nice to have you here. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Great
Yeah,
to be here.
listen, so I think you're the most eminently qualified to talk about this, certainly among the people that I've seen on the internet. Wow, there's a lot of bullshit going on.
Yep, it's a big problem.
So how
unfortunately.
much of what you do now is just trying to disabuse people of the notions that they are brainwashed into thanks to Instagram and TikTok?
So, unfortunately, it's happening worldwide, not just in South Africa. There's this, as you say, this disinformation, especially on social media, about most medical-related treatments nowadays. And invariably, it's someone that's trying to make a quick buck.
Yes.
So it's the sale of these GLP-1 weight loss medications from the personal trainer at the gym, or the
back
lady
of
that
a
owns
truck
back of a
in-
truck, or the lady that owns a hair salon.
Yeah.
And obviously, unfortunately, what happens is that the legitimate medically guided programs get lumped with the bad stuff, and everyone gets painted with the same bad brush, unfortunately. So,
All right, but there are various brands, and we're not particularly interested in any one of them. But the term GLP-1, these are drugs that effectively change your satiety, your desire to fill your stomach and your gut with more food.
Correct.
Is that right?
That's correct. So,
okay.
GLP-1s are actually one of the very first peptides that was ever developed. So,
Right.
you hear peptides are everywhere
All the
now.
rage now.
All the rage now.
Yeah.
So GLP-1 is actually classified as a peptide. So glucagon-like peptide, what it does basically, it acts on the central nervous system, so in your brain. So basically gives you the feeling that you are fuller quicker. Also delays things like gastric emptying. So once again, that you talk about society also feeling satiated. You have that feeling a lot quicker. But also helps with reducing cravings as well.
Okay.
Also helps with insulin sensitivity. So basically a patient that's insulin resistant can help shift the needle on that a little bit. So it helps insulin sensitivity. And what's quite interesting with these drugs now, there's a lot more evidence and information that's coming out about other benefits of these medications. But once again, done under medical guidance for the correct indication, for the correct patient, not just dishing them out for, the mom and Santon that wants to lose like an extra 1 or 2 kilograms. Those are not the patients that should be on these medications.
Right. It's not a vitamin pill that you just
100%.
can take every other day. And
there can be serious implications with these medications. And unfortunately, because there's a lot of
Fat
black
people.
market.
Sorry.
Well, you talk about for obesity rates in South Africa now, depending
outrageous. Let's just talk about that as a starting
depending
point.
which literature you look at, anywhere between 31% to 40% of our population is obese. All right. So the problem with obesity is that a lot of people think, it's just someone that, eats what they want, they don't exercise, they don't look after themselves. But what's been shown is that it's actually should be classified as a chronic disease, because it's at a central nervous system level. These patients can't control themselves in terms of cravings, the amount of food that they're eating. Also, because of our socioeconomic environment that we have, people have to go after poor quality foods because it's cheaper. So it's there's a huge issue with obesity. And obviously with that comes all the comorbid diseases that come with obesity.
I mean, all of the top 5 killers in terms of diseases are all much worse if you're also obese.
Exactly.
I mean, the chances of any circulatory problem or respiratory problem or anything else is going to be much magnified by the fact that you are also enormously fat.
Exactly. I mean, there's almost over 150 chronic conditions related to obesity. So this is where these medications can be game changers. But as I say, unfortunately, what's happening is there are nefarious parties that are preying on people and saying, okay, well, I can get you the medication a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, send a WhatsApp. It gets delivered to you, or you can come buy it out the boot of my car. And that's a big problem because that's where you get issues.
That's certainly one of the reasons I wanted to get you here, because evidently there are a lot of crooks, like there are in almost everything. I mean,
It's like DJs.
Like DJs, online gambling. I mean, there are so many things going on in this country at the moment that you should definitely have a second look at before you even dip your toe into that world. And I don't particularly have a dog in the fight in terms of this. I think if you are really, really, really obese and it'll help you to start to lose that weight because you can't control yourself and you need something to help you, cool. Exactly. I'm not going to necessarily judge it. But let's just talk about the benefits and the deleterious effects, to be as polite as possible about this, because I saw a clip this week. You know, there's a lot of stuff on the internet about this. You just mentioned gastric emptying is delayed, which means what? These people they don't go to the loo as often?
So what happens with these medications is, as with any medication, there can be side effects. It doesn't matter which medication you use. There are always side effects related to medication. Mm-hmm. So once again, the way we educate our patients on our platforms when they start to go on these medications, we use a protocol that's been designed, backed by science, where you start patients off on lower doses and build them up with time. So it's done in a strategic manner with this continuous monitoring. Some patients will get side effects. So they either get constipation, diarrhea, they get a bit of reflux.
Oh, wow, it goes both ways.
Nausea, goes both ways.
Goes the
nausea,
diarrhea way and the constipation
They can get a bit of vomiting as well.
I heard they get burping.
Burping, so that's part of the reflux, basically. But once these patients
Sounds unpleasant to be around.
Well, exactly. But this is normally quite short-lived in the majority of patients. And this is where, obviously, if a patient has these issues, as a medical practitioner, you can now obviously deal with these complications because you want the patient to get the benefits from the therapy. And I always like to tell patients as well that you can't look at a GLP-1 medication as the silver bullet, basically, that's going to fix everything.
Yeah, but that's what people want, Doc. They just want they want the magic pill.
Well, you see, unfortunately,
they want to solve all of their problems. They want to be thin.
Yeah, we live in a society of instant gratification, unfortunately. So I always tell patients it's the tool to get the process going, because you've still got to eat correctly, you've still got to exercise, but using that as a tool to streamline the process, almost give you that push.
I think that's
is the way to.
Obviously, you're speaking responsibly as a medical practitioner and someone who's got your clients, your patients' interests at heart, which is not often what the people who are trying to wholesale this stuff are doing. But let's just talk about the negatives before we go on to the positives, because I think for most people, the obvious positive, the first positive is it's going to help you get control of your eating,
yes,
which for many people in this country is just absolutely out of control. What are the other negative things? Is there such a thing as Ozempic face? I've seen some horrifying pictures of Kelly Osbourne and Demi Moore and these Hollywood celebrities. And I mean, either anorexia is back in a big way, back up. What would you call it? Like a kind of reflux? It's come back, or else they're blaming the medication. It's not the medication. Tell me what I must believe here. I see these horrifying videos and photos.
So you would have seen obviously celebrities they look like they've been stuck in a concentration camp somewhere because they just look so
dreadful,
wasted,
emaciated.
But once again, that's where those people should have never been taking these medications because they were never candidates for them. But you'll hear about
they're
things
all
like,
mentally ill and need help.
I think it's the pressure of being in the spotlight as a celebrity.
Are they overdoing this stuff? Is that what it is?
They're overdoing it. Huh. And the problem though is that a lot of these, you talk about Ozempic face. Well, we can't really say that word, sorry.
Sure, I know. But we're not talking about that.
GLP-1 face. We're not allowed to mention brand names.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what they're calling it on the internet.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's always people say it's due to muscle loss, right? So these medications get a bad reputation because people say, oh, you're going to be in it, you're going to lose muscle mass, right? And that's why your face looks gaunt and you get skinny fat and all of that. Whether it's with a GLP-1 or if I just put a patient into a caloric deficit without a GLP-1, you are going to lose muscle mass. It's not because of the medication. It's because you are in a caloric deficit. So once again, if the treatment's done in a structured way with the right approach, you can avoid a lot of these physical sort of attributes of muscle wasting because that's where the patient's done too much. Okay. So it's always good to get to the patient to a point where they're happy with their weight, healthy BMI. You can dial the medication back down. You can even try and stop the medication in some of these patients. Some of these patients stay on the medications, but very, very low doses because they see the other benefits of these medications as well. So once again, that's where I like to drive this message home. The medical guidance and being responsible with these therapies can work very, very well.
You shouldn't be, ladies and gentlemen, you should not be injecting yourself in dark parking lots at night with strange things handed to you by your personal trainer. All right, that's not a good idea. Speak to people like Dr. McAlpine here. Okay, so apart from the burping, the diarrhea, the farts, the constipation, the Ozempic face, and the weight loss, which is great, what are the other benefits?
Well, so a lot of these patients who are obese, they have comorbid diseases. So hypertension, diabetes, arthritis, the list goes on and on and on. So as soon as you address the obesity, guess what happens? A lot of those chronic diseases fall down the wayside,
right.
Even from a mental health point of view as well.
Right.
So those are the benefits. You've got to look at the bigger picture, basically, in terms of, okay, so I have a patient who presents who's overweight or obese. What other comorbid diseases do they have? You can monitor those as well. And you see all of a sudden these patients give you feedback 6 months down the line, 12 months down the line. Doc, I feel amazing. I'm off my blood pressure meds. My glucose control's improved. My joints aren't sore anymore. I'm more mobile. They're in a better mood because also with this comes, there's a psychological issue with obesity as well. People feel self-conscious. They're scared to socialize.
Well, take up a lot of space.
They're worried about what people are going to think about them. So those are the benefits. And unfortunately, because as we know, social media is a very sensationalist place and everyone is going to have opinion bias. So people will vilify these drugs and say they're the worst things ever. But done correctly can be life-changing for a lot of people.
So it's, like cigarette companies, they have all the warning things on there, the doctor, surgeon, general person, whatever. Surely these things should be mandated to say, like, this is the kickstart of your process. This isn't the thing that you now live on. Because everything you just said there makes so much sense. And, like, for some people, that mountain of losing that 20 kilograms is too much, so they don't do it. But if they can get that kickstart, that's the chance.
So this is where, obviously the medical process is important. That's why meeting patient expectations are important. So I'll get a patient to say to me, I need to lose 40 kilograms, right? They're grossly obese. I want to use 40 kilograms. So basically want to lose an entire person almost. You've got to give them realistic expectations because they feel, great, I can be on the therapy for 3 months.
Do those sort of people say that to you while they're dipping an entire turkey drumstick into gravy?
No. By the time they come and see me, I think they realize there's a problem that needs to be rectified. Yes.
I have a tub of ice cream while they're in the waiting room?
No. I have had patients years ago. I never forget a patient that was on a weight loss journey who arrived with a bucket of KFC once. Needless to say, the consultation didn't last very long because I said, if that's the way you started.
That was where their journey began.
That's where the journey, this is not going to work from the word go. But anyway.
You also don't want your professional space smelling like that.
Exactly.
Send off the wrong image to the next person.
All sorts. But anyway. And it's one of these things where I say to patients, okay, set a realistic expectation. I want you to lose 5 kilos in the next 3 months, not 40 kilograms. So you set realistic goals because the big mistake that people make is they try to do too much too quickly. So they'll try to get on an extreme diet. They'll be in the gym every single day. And when they don't see massive results within the first 4 to 6 weeks, they get disheartened. What happens? They stop. and they go back to square one.
So is there clearly, and like anything, there's a dosage, a prescription that has to go with each person.
100%.
And is it possible, it must be, it is the case with all drugs, that some people start to think that they should be deciding their own dosage without their medical professional advice?
Exactly.
And those are possibly the people who can have very dangerous effects as a result of overdoing it or underdoing it. In other words, do what your doctor says.
So there was just after COVID, there was a massive ramp up in patients doing sort of at-home GLP-1 treatments that they're buying stuff from wherever.
God.
But the problem is there were a lot of admissions, even serious complications, 1 or 2 fatalities related to this, because people are saying, okay, and it's human nature, I want to lose weight quickly, so let me start on the higher dose now. There's a structured approach. So every patient starts on the lowest dose possible. So I tell some patients, in the first 4 weeks, that scale's not going to shift. You're not going to see anything. But the reason for that is to get your physiology adjusted and used to the medication. And then you start to ramp it up slowly over time. So once you increase the dose to a point where you see the patient's losing weight and the patient's feeling great, you leave them at that dosage until, say, they plateau again. Now they're not losing any weight. Now you can increase it again. But once again, the monitoring is vitally important. But as I say, human nature, we think, okay, I want to lose this weight quickly. Let me hit it with a hard dose now or big dose. And that's where people land up with issues.
Someone asks here in the comments, is it bad for your pancreas? Which is interesting. Can the medicine mess with your pancreas if your pancreas was okay before using it? Why would the pancreas be necessarily affected?
So one of the very rare side effects is pancreatitis. So pancreatitis is basically inflammation of the pancreas, right? Also related to the delayed gastric emptying. But if it's picked up early enough, so a patient says, oh, I've got a little bit of what we term epigastric pain, immediately stop the medication. You can provide them with the correct therapy to mitigate that, do the necessary investigations, so blood results, even a sonar, that you get on top of it quickly. Can happen, very, very rare complication, though.
I'm sorry to sound stupid about this, but what do you have is it an injection, a needle?
It's an injection, so it's a once weekly injection. It's done with a pen, so it's a dose-metered pen.
Oh, almost like
an insulin pen.
Okay, gotcha.
But this is done on a weekly basis, once a week. Very easy to do. You basically set the pen to your dosage. So each pen has its specific dose. So if you start on the 0.25 milligram pen, click the pen to 0.25 milligrams. Mm-hmm. It's a tiny little needle that you basically screw onto the pen, into the abdomen. It's literally painless. Click the pen.
Would you be in favor of holding down fat children and injecting them with this?
So what's interesting now is actually there's indications now for adolescent obesity now for the use of these medications.
Okay.
We're seeing a distinct rise in obesity rates in adolescents now as well. Currently in South Africa, data is pointing to about anywhere between 15 to 20% of adolescents now are obese or classified as obese.
That's outrageous.
So
in a time where your body's really helping you be in shape.
Exactly. So, but invariably look at the parents are obese as well. So
yeah.
This is potentially not there could be a behavioral aspect, but is that behavioral aspect due to genetics that are there as well? When I talked about the way the central nervous system's working in terms of craving. So there is a move now towards treatment of adolescent obesity. It's a recognized treatment now. Obviously, they've seen the benefits of treating these kids earlier because you're going to prevent chronic diseases later on.
And bullying.
That as well.
Yeah, but it's just so difficult. You can have all the great things of medicine, but if you go home and all there is in the cupboard are Twinkies, you're not really going to win many battles here.
Well, you see, so this is where ideally the reason why you're eating the Twinkie is either that's the only thing that's in the house to eat or you've got the craving for it. And these medications control the craving, basically. So I've got patients that will say, for instance, and it's quite interesting, smokers, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, being on the treatment, they've stopped smoking because they don't crave a cigarette anymore. So 100%, I agree with what you're saying in terms of you've got to make the right choices and you've got to have the right foundation in place with making sure you've got healthy food choices, moving your body at least.
Yeah.
But at least it's sort of a foot in the right direction. But that's where a holistic approach is important. It's not just there's the medication, there you go. So on our platforms, we've got a clinical nutritionist who patients can consult with. We follow you up on a weekly basis to say, how are you feeling? What challenges have you had this week? Are the cravings coming back? Do we need to adjust your medication? Are there any problems? So there needs to be the support structure in place. And if the support structure is there, that's where you get a successful treatment outcome.
So slightly different angle on that. So maybe it's you can only have anecdotal sort of evidence around that. But if you stop having cravings in life, you stop having desires, does this make people incredibly boring and like basically a little bit lobotomized towards fun?
We liked Wendy. She was a big girl, but she was lots of fun while she was eating.
Now you're living in a world of scarcity, quite literally. Scarcity mindset is quite a difficult thing to.
So I mean, it's a bit of an open-ended question because I mean, so if you look at cravings and desires and what brings you joy in life, so we find a lot of patients now that were obese, for instance, couldn't do physical activities like playing golf, right? Or doing other activities, right? Or playing
God
soccer.
forbid, becoming one of those high rocks people.
Or a high rocks person. Here we go.
Hybrid rock star.
I won't tell you I used to do CrossFit.
You couldn't help yourself. Even doctors can't help themselves when it comes to that.
I use the word used to. And all of a sudden now they've got a new lease on life. Now they're more active and now that's brings them joy.
No, but I almost see, and I don't know that this is related, and again, this is pure conjecture on my part, but you see a similar argument being made for people who are slightly hyperactive or have trouble focusing or whatever, and then they get on a drug that just makes them very placid and dull. And I wonder, because that craving element being gone, it can be a motivator for some people. It might be bad for them if they overdo it. But, if you really want something and you go out there and get it, that's usually a good thing.
So here's what I see with patients is that if you look at a reward system, right, in terms of the reward system for a lot of these patients is I'm now losing weight. So now they see scales dropping, pen sizes dropping. They've now got to go and change the entire wardrobe because they've lost weight.
Or in some cases, actual pants dropping as a result of them being more attractive.
And for them, that's the biggest dopamine reward mechanism you could ever ask for, and that motivates them even more.
So Bitcoin Bud asks in the comments here, and it's a good question that I'm sure was going to come up at some point. What happens when they come off the medication? Because you're not meant to be on it eternally.
So depends which medication you're on, which GLP you're on. That's a whole nother discussion. So basically, when a patient hits, and this is the way I manage patients, other doctors have different ways, but when a patient hits their target weight, we don't just stop the medication. We wean them back down. So say they're sitting at a certain higher dose, we then bring that dose back down over time. And then once they hit the lowest dose, we then stop the medication and see how they go. They've now invariably got lifestyle factors in place. So they're eating well, they're exercising, they're motivated to keep the weight off. A lot of the time, these patients don't need the medication. Some patients do need to stay on the medication, but we try and keep them on the lowest dose possible. But invariably, if you've now, say, changed the lifestyle factors, you've created new habits, you can stop these medications, but it needs to be done in a monitored, structured way.
Who's the fattest, or you can't say their name, but tell us who the fattest in terms of size person that you've seen improve their life in your practice, or even by wild rumor in South Africa.
So
give us a scale here.
So I've seen a patient at about 175 kilos. Wow. And there are people that weigh that amount.
Wow. Wider than tall.
Right. Down to 100 kilos more, like 95 kilos, which is a massive change. Wow. But then that patient then needs to go for surgery because they've got excess skin, all those things. But once again, that patient had hypertension, diabetes, all sorts of things. We haven't stopped that patient's medications completely, but definitely decreased the amount of medications.
But wow, I mean, what a change. That's a tremendous...
They literally lost the entire person.
Yeah, and their life must be so much better.
But that skin operation is quite something. Eh?
It is quite something. And listen, it's obviously from a cosmetic or aesthetic point of view, but the patient just feels better. So they've got a new lease on life.
They look like one of those Shih Tzu dogs. What are they called? It's a Shih Tzu, right?
It's a Shih Tzu, yeah.
That's one that's all wrinkly. That's the one.
Yeah,
wrinkly dogs.
Yeah, it's
all the folds of skin, like a wizard sleeve, really. That's kind of what we're looking at. All right, so Foaming at the mouth, random acts of violence, side effects are always worse than benefits, says Goon. This person is completely insane. Just ignore. We don't have to pay any attention to that.
Fine. I get those comments all the time.
That sounds like rabies. It's a very different thing.
Yeah. That's not none of the GLP-1's will help you with that.
Very different thing.
Very, very mad people here. The cigarette sweets were bad for your teeth and did not lead to cancer. Again, Tokolosh in the comments, some of these people should be on other kinds of medication. Can the medicine help me? I weigh 170.
Yes.
Yeah, we've just...
How embarrassing to admit that in the comment section.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's just outrageous.
So this is a big thing. So what's interesting,
somebody says that's someone's ex in the comments.
Is a lot of patients that are obese are also scared to seek help because they're self-conscious. So that's one of the reasons why we developed...
Where are they going to hide?
We developed an online platform so patients can actually access these medications. They don't even have to leave the house if they don't want to. Because this is the big issue, is that a lot of patients feel very self-conscious going to a medical practitioner, sitting in a waiting room, people judging you. And
is it very expensive?
It is expensive.
What are we talking about here?
I'm not allowed to mention prices.
Just no, somewhere, but give me a range.
So anywhere from about 3.5 upwards, depending on the dosage.
Per dose?
Per month.
Oh, per month.
Per month. So it is an expensive medication, but there's a reason why it's expensive. It's because it's the research development that's gone behind it. It's the facilities that it's made in. Okay. It's the transportation has to be kept cold all the time, cold chain. There is a move now for some easier, cheaper versions in terms of oral versions that are coming.
Okay.
One of the big pharmaceutical companies that we partner with, I'm not allowed to mention their name, it's just been released in the States now, has an oral version.
Will those be as effective?
So currently the evidence says yes. Far cheaper. It's only probably going to arrive in South Africa in the next 4 to 5 years if we're lucky. But that could be a game changer as well. So there is a move afoot to make it more accessible. I mean, the WHO has also now recognized these medications as a recognized treatment for obesity now. So there will be
we don't recognize the WHO on this show. Not after they lied to us during the COVID
lots of lies.
crisis. Yeah.
So it's one of these things where eventually it will become more accessible, but unfortunately now it is quite expensive.
So I got one more question around these celebrities. Like some of them.
He's a bit slow this morning.
Sorry, I'm just buffering a bit. Demi Moore is no longer a young person. So I'm just going to speculate that she's on one of these things, and she looks skeletal, concentration campy. Now, is it much harder to be on this when you're older? Because as you know, as you get older, everything's harder. Your hangovers are worse. Your ability to just...
Well, it's once again, it depends on the patient. But I mean, someone like a lot of these celebrities, they aren't just on GLP-1s alone. They're on a whole bunch of other things as well. But I think because, once again, there's this pressure as a celebrity that you have to look a certain way.
Right.
And that's why you see some of these celebrities start to look a bit strange because they're overdoing aesthetic treatments. They're overdoing a lot of things because also they have all the resources available to them. And unfortunately, practitioners take advantage of this.
Yeah, completely. And once you've got one thing done, they'll show you the next 3 that you
100%. Can. So that's where, as you get older, does it become harder? That's a bit of a tough question to ask because, once again, it's very patient dependent. Everyone responds differently.
Was there a shortage a while ago?
There was a shortage a while ago.
Okay, and they've rectified that now?
That's all rectified now.
Okay, so now you can listen up, fatties. You can go and talk to your doctor and get some Ozempic after all. See, don't say I don't stand up for you. That's... Come on. I mean, really, I get a lot of heat from these people. By the way, we've got someone called Mash who also, he used to be quite chubby. He didn't go on GLP-1s. He's been exercising like a champion. He's been eating right. Very proud of himself, but he can be quite antagonistic about fat people, which wouldn't be out of place on this show at all. And I thought we'd just ask the question, and this is not really a question for Dr. McAlpine. It could be for you, though, as the audience, as people who listen to watch this show. Do you think MASH has gone too far? James, let them see what MASH is saying now. Really, I think it's gone too far.
Do you think that fat people should have to pay for 2 plane tickets?
I think they should pay for more than just 2 plane tickets. They should pay for 2 gym memberships because them definitely ain't using one. What the fuck are you talking about? How you gonna be fat and then mad that you take up double the space? Nobody asks you if you want to double the portions. Fuck you talking about? Fat people should pay for everything. They should pay for this economy. Eggs was like $8 a dozen. It was because fat people. You ain't never went to a goddamn grocery store and never seen a fat person in there. You know what I'm saying? They always in there. They be in there and they be having to take their time, walking slow, breathing in dialysis machine, oxygen tank, kids in the back, and a dog. Why you got a dog? And the dog fat too? That's animal abuse.
I think Mash he's gone too far this time. Sure, very, very bad. But while we've got you here, Dr. McAlpine, I wanted to ask you about this quickly. You mentioned peptides at the beginning here. This is all the rage at the moment. I see loads of material, again, posted by mostly very irresponsible and stupid people about the benefits of peptides. Let's just talk about that briefly, because if it is going to become a thing, I'd like you to have the first shot at trying to explain it to people who are willing to listen right here. So what do we need to know?
So I'm a big fan of peptides, right? I use peptides myself. For me, I found it massively beneficial. Our platforms have just launched a whole range of peptides, but to put into context, it's taken us 3.5 years to get our range of peptides right in terms of...
Well, what are they and where do they operate in the body?
So peptides are basically, it's a short chain of amino acids, basically, that makes a small protein, so to say. You inject the peptide, it then elicits a physiological response within your body.
In all the cells, or is it specific?
Well, it's sometimes can be specific or can be throughout your physiology as well. So similar to the GLP-1, which is a peptide, that's glucagon-like peptide, secretes downstream basically from your central nervous system. Same thing with these peptides. So you can have peptides that can help with recovery and healing. You can have peptides that help with collagen stimulation. You can have peptides that help with mitochondrial health.
Right.
But the problem with peptides, because you'll see, literally you open your phone on social media and you get bombarded with buying peptides.
Oh, yeah, it's like the cryptocurrency of health at
But
the
the problem is now, there's no regulations with peptides. Yeah. So we are seeing now, and we did a lot of testing on a lot of peptides that are available on the market that you can buy, and they're cheap. And I get backlashes about, your peptides are so expensive. There's a reason why they're so expensive, because it's a good quality peptide. Because the issue with peptides is that quality is a huge variable in terms of contamination of these peptides. So peptides where we've seen heavy metal contamination in there, something called lipopolysaccharides, endotoxins, prions, which are small viruses, right? That are now in the peptide that you're injecting every day.
And is it also in a pen?
No, well, you can get it in a pen, but the problem with a lot of the pens, though, and this is what's so funny, and people buying these pens off the internet from all these people, so I laugh because we've done the work ourselves and the due diligence. A lot of the times with these peptides and pens, the actual coating on the inside of the pen breaks the peptide down.
Oh, God.
So people literally people are injecting water.
Yeah.
Mixing peptides together in one pen. You can't mix them together. So you get these things, you can get your peptides together in a pen.
It's not just in your realm. Ben and I were talking this morning about idiots who are buying steak and seafood from Timu. So there are a lot of stupid people. Tell me about this one, because somebody mentioned this to me. It's like it's all the rage at the moment. Of the peptides, this one seems to be getting the most attention. Retatrutide?
Retatrutide.
What?
So retatrutide.
Okay, sorry.
So retatrutide actually falls into the weight loss category. So it's a third generation GLP medication. But once again, you'll see you can get retatrutide everywhere, right? It's still not FDA approved, right? Mm-hmm. Technically, all the retatrutide that's coming into South Africa is illegal.
Okay.
It has actually been registered with SAPRA. So technically, anyone who's seen selling these medications, I'm going to put this out there just to scare a few people. If you are caught selling these medications by the relevant authorities, serious implications.
Good. So can I just do a quick experiment here? James, can you come in here for a second?
Poor James.
James, can you just get in the side here? I want the two of you to be, let's just together side by side for a second.
Oh my God, he's lost his head.
No, just come down, so that you both, Flex, we get them both in the same here. So,
no, use the other camera.
The other cam, Flex, so get them both together. No, close.
Why?
It's like peptides before and after. Since you sat down, it's like, wow, if James took his life seriously, he might look like you one day. It really is.
Sorry, James.
James,
but there goes his head again.
But just know where you're going in life. If you play your cards right, this is what you could look like, James. Stop drinking Red Bull, all the cheap synthetic stuff.
Right. So what would be the advantage to someone like James, for example, since he's our, sheep to the slaughter this morning? What would the advantage be for him to take any peptides?
So it needs to be.
What would it do?
It needs to be what is the specific goal you're trying to achieve.
Well, he's got a lot of problems, as you can see. But what would it help him with?
So once again,
so much potential.
I'm
He's tall.
going to use an example. So, for instance, you've got, say, like a niggling injury, like a shoulder injury, for instance, right? You've been to physio, you go and see your sports medicine physician, but still, like, now and then that injury is just niggling.
Okay.
You can use a peptide called BPC 157. I know it sounds like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
With something called TB 500. That can help massively because it helps with recovery and repair. So
Ben over here is very rude about James, but you're the one who's had a bad back for 100 years. Would it help with that?
100%.
Maybe?
Completely.
100%. Yeah. And, once again, this is where peptides also not for everyone. So anyone that wants to purchase peptides from us, there's a medical questionnaire they have to fill out. There's a due diligence they have to go through. We do regular follow-ups as well, monitoring of patients. Are your symptoms improving, yes or no? And I say they need to be medically guided. It's vitally important because I say people are just dishing out peptides and people are injecting stuff in there that could potentially kill them because the quality is just that bad.
Yeah.
And I say we've done all the testing on a lot of the popular things on the internet that are out there. It is frightening what is in there, but frightening.
So mostly if you're buying it from someone who you wouldn't buy, you wouldn't leave your house keys with them.
So put it this way.
For 5 minutes.
Here's a very simple way. If you're buying a peptide where you haven't had to fill out a medical questionnaire and there's no medical guidance,
it's bullshit.
Do not buy it.
At best, you're going to get water.
Yeah,
At worst, you're going to get something truly dangerous.
And then you run into a complication. So I've had patients that have now come to me where they've been using a peptide. Now they've got complications and issues. They phone the company that they bought this from, dead silence.
Yeah.
They can't speak to a doctor. They can't get any feedback. Now what do you do?
It's such a weird thing because so much of behavior in life comes down to cost and resources. But it's a corner which shouldn't be cut anyway because like the upside is so slim. Like, it's just a small chance it's going to work that you're going to get some generic crap sent to you and it's going to have at home.
Unfortunately, what I've seen is people will try and find the cheapest option no matter what. And what's scary is when it comes to your health, people are willing to risk their health just to save a couple of bucks.
Like you can kind of get away maybe on like a massage or, I don't know, a T-shirt with minimal like purpose, but not with this stuff.
But this is the problem that we're facing.
Carl DeSantis says in the comments, is a peptide when you get drowned in a wave of really cheap clothing? Stupid people here.
There's so much myth in the comments, actually.
King Clay says, my wife did not know how to use the pen. She injected the full 4 mil in one shot. She was sick for a week and wasted 3,000 Rand. These things are expensive. Should women be allowed to operate these things on their own?
So most of the time, it's the women that are operating and not the guys.
Okay, just checking. Sometimes
women are far more responsible than the men.
Got to cover the basics. Don't shoot the messenger.
Far more responsible.
Moral of the story, all the great bodies we see around, none of them are naturally achieved, says Diolinda. No, that's where you're wrong.
Well, that was going to be my next question to you.
There are a great many people who've worked hard on this.
Yeah.
I don't think we can necessarily say that there is any more or less value. Everybody has to do their own work. If you manage to go from 170 kilograms to 100, tremendous.
So you can be on hormone optimization, you can be on peptides, but if you don't put the work in, so if you don't go do the exercise, you don't eat properly, you're not going to see the physical results in the story. You've got to put the work in. So those people have still worked hard.
But if I look at you, I can tell you're on peptides straight away.
How? What are you, some kind of Nostradamus?
Nostradamus. No, it's just that,
I'll take that as a compliment.
No, and so you should. How old are you?
I'll be turning 45 this year.
See, he's older than me, okay? And I'm old.
But, so I was at the gym at 4:30 this morning.
I know. So the thing is, okay, so where I'm getting to this is that it's not because of that you are, it's just that there's an extra increment that normal stuff won't give you. There's an extra increment. You can be the most dedicated guy, disciplined, do all those kind of things. There is a 2% about you, which as you walk into a room, I can tell as peptides.
I agree. And I'm on hormone optimization. I'm on everything because I practice what I preach.
Sure.
So basically, it is.
I'm an advocate for my own platform because how can I prescribe stuff to patients if I don't use it for myself?
No, you are the absolute advocate because you have to put the work in. You have to do all those things. But then you get to a natural ceiling with all of these things, and like you can just tell that you've got that sort of extra few increments there, which.
I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it is. I think that's true. I think anyone who, I don't understand why people would have a doctor who's horribly unhealthy themselves.
Well, that's the problem. You get an
Horrible
overweight doctor who's offering you advice on losing weight.
Yeah, not going to listen to them.
Yeah.
I mean, on the week that I'm having right now and lack of sleep, alcohol and stuff, like I look at you and I'm so envious right now. I'll get back to it in a few weeks, but
come chat to me. We can sort you out.
It's
sort both of you out if you want.
But it's a beautiful thing.
I didn't ask for anything. I think I'm fine. Thanks very much.
Gareth, if you were listening to this only as a podcast, this is like buff Dr. Witt. No visuals here. Sounds like
no. Okay, so what are the majority of patients looking for? We've spoken about the GLP-1's here, but your business, your clinic deals with mostly men's issues.
So actually, I've also got a female platform as well called FemLab.
Okay.
So we deal with ladies as well.
Yeah.
So basically, actually, the core thing is hormone optimization.
AndroLab is the men's side.
The men's side. Originally, we started with the male platform and then sort of spread into the female platform because a lot of our male patients are saying, my wife, girlfriend, fiance, I need something for her. So starting with hormone optimization, there's a pandemic of low testosterone amongst men nowadays.
Yeah, you can see it. You just have to walk around.
There's a pandemic
low
of
testosterone
hormone
men.
imbalance with female patients now as well nowadays. So that's
what do we do with these low testosterone men apart from beat them up in the street?
So hormone optimization. So it's using testosterone therapy to get their testosterone levels where they should be.
Okay. Is it true that the testosterone levels have dropped precipitously
Massively.
in men? And that if you met a guy in the 1950s, if you had a time machine and you went back to the 1950s.
As we bring James out again.
No, don't be mean.
So
Ben. If you had to go back into the 1950s, these were just stronger, more driven, more kind of masculine men.
So I see it with, so like patients from sort of mid-30s up. I see patients age 35 with testosterone levels of a 70-year-old male now.
Really?
Really.
Jesus,
and they
that's
and they
scary.
present all the symptoms. So
Half
first things,
the age.
some of the things they present with is chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, poor libido, brain fog, lack of motivation, loss of muscle mass. Just
none of the things that anyone else finds attractive.
Basically just that loss of vitality.
Yeah.
And it's because of the way we live and the environment we live in. Something called endocrine disruption. It's a thing. It's the food that we eat. It's the water that we drink. It's the air that we breathe. It's fragrances. It's the clothing that we wear.
Fragrances,
yes.
Ben. Really?
Yes, really.
If you want to smell like a Persian man, you're going to have consequences. Endocrine disruption is a massive thing.
Even the cookware you're using to cook your food with. There's so many things, but unfortunately, you can't avoid a lot of these things because it's ingrained in our daily lives, and
marketed to us aggressively.
Yes, so it's a problem because this has massive downstream effects later on in life, right? Because
I always thought it was cycling that had ruined men's testosterone levels. Obviously, I got that
from
wrong.
an anatomical point of view, it actually can.
Yes, of course it can. Your balls being crushed on that stupid seat.
Hanging out with those cyclists.
Hanging out with those other cyclists in those shit clothes.
But it's very much it's a pandemic. It's a problem, and I say it's great when you see patients start with us and they're literally on the floor, and you speak to the same patient 6 months down the line, and they don't know how to thank you because you've literally changed their lives because it's like a little switch goes on.
By then, they've changed their entire life, right? And it's never too late to do these things.
No, it's not. Because what you're going to look at is not the now, but long term, right? So what happens, so I'm turning 45 this year. My goal is when I'm 85, I want to be functional. I don't want to be a geriatric that has to rely on somebody else to wipe my backside for me.
That's my life too.
I want to be functional. I want to be independent. And you see a lot of these, there's a massive correlation between hormonal imbalance or suboptimal levels and issues with chronic diseases later on in life, just massive longevity problems. So, yeah.
GLP-1 tablets already available in South Africa, says Anthony.
They're
My
not.
son went from injections down to the tablets after 6 months. I hate to tell you, but your son is on some other kind of pills. Probably Poloni from
Not yet.
Escort or something. Poloni pills.
Has it been registered yet?
Okay, so not registered. But
Not registered with SAPRA yet.
Okay. Serious question. I pay 350 Rand a month for my medical aid or whatever it is, but my testosterone is still low. Can I ask Adrian Gore for a refund? That's from Carl. Gareth needs testosterone. That baby face needs a beard, common sense says. Really, I know that these people, Doc, by the way, the people who ask questions in the comment section, these are wild animals. There's even the women in there have testosterone levels that would beg belief.
You must see my comment section on my social media. It's
Horrific.
it all,
Where can people follow you, by the way?
So
since you
we've
bring that
got
up?
our AndroLab page. So it's at androlab.co.za. We've got another one called @FemLab as well, both on Instagram.
You don't mix them up though. If you're looking to be more woman, then
they're quite distinct in their feel and appearance.
Okay, right.
And then I've got my own personal page on Instagram. It's @longevity_by_Dr. Alistair.
Longevity, apart from GLP-1s and peptides, longevity is all the rage as well.
It is.
In the medical world and among billionaires and, tech enthusiasts and everything else. And we are going to live longer than any other humans have ever lived. But we've got to make sure that that's quality life.
Well,
as you said earlier, you don't want to be an 80-year-old with someone having to wipe your ass. There are obviously things that we can do something about, and there are things that we can't do anything about. You must have done a ton of research on this. What are the best things you can do right now, no matter what age you are, to guarantee yourself a much longer, healthier life?
So if you look at what is the distinct correlation between longevity and what can you do what can we measure basically that's going to predict or prolong longevity, but make sure that you are functional, right? Because you can make anyone live until they're 100, but will they be functional or not? That's the big question. Muscle mass. That's actually what it boils down to. Maintenance of muscle mass. So provided you eating a good diet, but resistance exercise if you can do it. If you can't do resistance exercise, at least moving your body 3 times a week for 30 minutes at a time. But resistance exercise to maintain muscle mass is actually the number one thing that you can do.
That's fantastic advice. Everything you've said, very, very helpful.
Logical,
it's very simple.
Makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. We will no doubt have to check in with you again on a couple of things because this is very, very handy info. But you can follow Dr. McAlpine on both Andro and FemLabs, right?
Correct, AndroLab and FemLab.
And those are
that's
both
correct.
here in South Africa. And don't go buying stuff from oaks who have veins in places you shouldn't have veins. Seriously, don't inject yourself with shit from some factory in Bangladesh.
Yeah,
it's a very bad idea.
Just don't cut corners in life in general. Really, it's just
so my general takeaway is if you're going to do the cheap route, you're going to pay for it later on.
Yeah.
Story.
And you'll be pooing and burping
and you're going to pay for it not in your terms either. It's going to be a very unfortunate thing, and you're going to be lots of regrets.
Exactly.
And you might even still be fat. That's the worst of all.
So, I mean, we've actually tested some of the stuff, and there's no active ingredient. It's just water. So
it's not even distilled water.
Exactly.
It's probably from some dirty river.
So
all right.
Anyway,
I love it. Thank you very much,
thanks,
Doc.
guys.
You're scale one.
Yeah. Imagine that. You'd get some terrible diseases from that stuff. All right, fatties. Hope that was useful. Okay, fat fighters. Just remember on the diet this week, dust. Anybody? Dust.
Very low in fat.
That's all. Yeah. All right. Thank you. And then we have to talk about travel. I know it's your favorite thing, Ben. I know it's many of the people in the comment section's favorite thing, but more important than the comment section, and I don't often say those words in a row, there are lots of people who listen and watch, but don't necessarily take part in the comment section. But you need to subscribe because, as I said to you, there are going to be some exciting developments in the show in the next while. So you need to sign up, subscribe, and then become a part of the family so I can keep you up to date with everything that's going to happen. Talking about travel, we're going to speak to somebody we've had on the show before. She was terrific last time. We decided to bring her back. Very popular, the extremely interesting, the extraordinarily knowledgeable, and full of useful tips for travel, Maria Watkins is the GM for Leisure at Tourvest. Hello, Maria.
How's it, Gareth? Hi, everyone.
Fantastic. Now, listen, it's Friday. People are ready for the weekend, but people also need to start thinking about when they're going to treat themselves to a nice trip. So let's talk a little bit about Rwanda and gorillas, because I've seen people posting this stuff and it looks like some of them are just doing it with AI. Can you really go to Rwanda and spend time with the gorillas?
100%. And listening to your previous conversation, if I had any money to spend, it would be on this experience, Gareth. I mean, it's probably an experience I'd put into the same category as getting married and giving birth to my children. It is that memorable.
So you've done it. So you've actually done this. You're not speaking just as
you're not trying. Done this 2 weeks ago, literally.
Fantastic. All right. So tell us your story first. Let's go.
Okay, so random Thursday, I get a call from a guy that we work very closely with in the industry role from UConnect, and he literally represents a whole lot of destination management companies around the world. And he phoned me on this random Thursday and he said, right, I've been working with Rwanda Tourism, and we have this fantastic trip leaving on Monday. Are you in? And your initial thought is, hell yes, this is my bucket list. I'm doing this. Second thought is, I haven't prepared to go and trek gorillas, because in my mind, I've always thought I'm going to build up my fitness for 6 months, and then I'm going to go trekking gorillas. So I was like, Raoul, I'd love to, but I don't think I'm fit enough. I don't think I can do this. Let me find someone else to join you.
And also, you're not Diane Fossey or Jane Goodall. So what the hell would you be doing with gorillas?
Correct. So I did spiral slightly, and I was like, no, it's too soon. Can't be doing this. I always imagine doing this much later, not now. And he said to me, are you insane? You're coming with, let's go. So Monday we get onto the plane and we arrive in Kigali. Let me just give you a little bit of insight into Rwanda. What an absolutely magnificent country to visit in Africa. It is so clean there, Gareth. You can literally eat off the streets. And that is really like testament to a nation that has been through an entire genocide not so long ago. And for them to come together and run their country the way they do is really admirable. You literally every third Saturday of the month, everybody, including the president, comes out to clean the streets. You don't, if you're able-bodied, you've got to be out there cleaning the streets.
Yeah, Maria, I've heard some amazing things about this, and I have heard people criticizing. It's bizarre, but they will always find something to moan about. But I've heard this from so many people who've been there, and I always think that people like you who've actually been there are far more credible than you've been there.
I have been there, Gareth. Yeah.
No, not. You see, okay, people like you.
I've been to Kigali.
People
on
like
a
you
third
only,
Saturday
not necessarily Ben, but people like you, Maria. As I was saying, we're going to ignore your participation for now, if you don't mind. They say to me that this place is just it's magnificently well run. There's a bit of dignity and self-respect about the kind of people who keep their environment clean. I mean, if you drive through Joburg, and I've got a video later on for everybody if you don't believe me, video of Helen Ziller stomping around the CBD. And I mean, it looks like everybody in Johannesburg is just in the most terrible mental and physical anguish, and they're just throwing all their shit everywhere. Dignity. None of that in Rwanda, hey? It really is like
none of that in Rwanda. They've also banned single-use plastic, so you cannot bring single-use plastic into the country. And I think that's half the battle won. And then the people coming together, it's really quite something to witness. It's incredible to see that every child has a pair of shoes. It was an initiative that they did a couple of years back. So you do not see barefoot children, even in the rural areas. So quite admirable to see and quite a privilege to have actually witnessed it, because like you say, Gareth, you hear about it, but when you actually see it and you see how clean the country is, it's unbelievable. I know that when we think Rwanda, we think gorillas, but I do just want to add that we were very, very privileged. We were very spoiled. We got to experience their national park as well, Akigara National Park. Stayed in a lovely lodge, Akigara Lodge, and they have got magnificent wildlife. Their bird life, I know I'm sort of giving my age away. I'm not a birder, but you can become a birder in Rwanda because the bird life there is just absolutely magnificent. And they've got these massive lakes that just form part of their national park. And we did a beautiful cruise along the lake. You get to see the wildlife from a different perspective. And it really was beautiful to experience something because people think they just go to Rwanda to track the gorillas. And yes, it was the highlight of our trip, but there is a lot more to country. We were hosted by the local DMC there, Business Events East Africa, and the vehicles they transport you in with are 4x4s equipped with Wi-Fi if you want it. We chose not to have it on all the time. They're equipped with electricity, and they know their roads. It's long distance to get to the Volcanoes National Park, which is where we went to trek the gorillas. But they are just so organized and you feel safe at all times. There wasn't ones where you sort of felt like, oh boy, where am I? What am I doing?
Is it hard to find the gorillas? I mean, are they difficult to track down? Does it take several days?
So what they do is they actually send trackers in early morning to start tracking the families. Guys, there are just over 1,000 wild gorillas left in the world, concentrated very much within Uganda, Rwanda, and Congo, Republic of Congo. So it was, just if you think about that number, they're not easy to find, but they send the trackers in early morning so that when you are allocated your family that you're going to track, there used to be 12 families you could track on any given day, so the permits are very much limited. There are now 14 families that you can track, and you get allocated a family to track according to your fitness level. So they sort of assess you and put you in the right group. So those with less fitness have got less of a track to do, but it's anything between 2, 4, maybe even longer hours to go and find them. We were
how close do you get?
As close as Ben is to you right now. Like really close. Really close.
2 arm lengths. Wow.
Yeah. So we were a group of 8. You can only be 8 in a group. You get 2 guides, one that goes up front, one that stays at the back of the pack so that nobody gets sort of left behind or lost. One recommendation I would make to everybody, you have the option to take a porter with you. These porters are actually, not all of them, but a lot of them are ex-poachers that have been rehabilitated into understanding why it's so important to conserve the wildlife and protect these gorillas. And the responsibility of that porter is really, he carries your backpack, he carries anything you need carried, and he makes sure that you're able to navigate through the vegetation. It's really marshy. It's very muddy. That morning, 3:30 in the morning, it was pouring with rain. I already had massive anxiety about would I even make it up the mountain to find these gorillas. But these guys were phenomenal. They would not let you fall. We didn't really get grouped into a fitness group. We were grouped as a group of agents. 4 of us had never had this experience before. One, this was his 3rd trek. 2 of them had done it before, and one had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And here I was thinking, can I even make it up the mountain? But with the help of these porters, they are unbelievable. They will not let you fall. They guide you. You've got to climb over tree stumps. You've got to avoid hitting your head on stuff. Your feet get stuck in marshy sort of vines that are on the ground.
Wow.
But you are so fixated on the end goal. You are so focused on making sure you don't fall, because there are many times I was knee deep in mud. Many times I was slipping, sliding. And we took probably just under 2 hours to find our family. And when you're just a couple of minutes away from entering, the guide sort of gives you masks because the gorilla's DNA matches ours by 98%. So you are trying to protect yourself, but also to protect the gorillas. So you wear a mask while you're with them. You only get to spend 1 hour with the gorillas, because after that they do obviously get a little bit unsettled. We were very, very fortunate. The family that they gave us to track, there were silverbacks, there was moms and babies, there was, the teenage boys that just want to cause nonsense.
And what is it? What is the experience like for you? Did you feel a tremendous sense of kind of companionship with these creatures? They're obviously magnificent. I mean, I've only ever seen them on film, but to be so close to them must be enthralling, if nothing else.
It is. And Gareth, just before you sort of enter the space, the guides communicate with them. They make sounds to let them know that we're coming, that they're safe. They respond to say it's safe to come. I'm not going to try and imitate those sounds because they're quite skillful. But as we sort of entered, it was almost like moving the bush, and there was this magnificent silverback, literally sitting where Ben is sitting in proportion to you. And he was just so calm, because you don't know what your reaction is going to be. You don't know what their reaction is going to be. And he made eye contact with us. And I felt a bit awkward. I thought, do I look him in the eye? Don't I look him in the eye? Am I going to disrespect him if I look away? But he was so calm and so peaceful and so welcoming. And that moment where our eyes actually connected, Gareth, honestly, I felt so humbled and extremely privileged to be standing in their presence. The fact that they allow you to come and spend that time with them, without making
and
you
say they're very docile, and they're not they're not aggressive creatures.
Not aggressive creatures. I have no doubt if you're going to upset them. I mean, we sat watching them eat. We sat watching them sleep. They felt safe enough to fall asleep in front of us. The younger ones are swinging from tree to tree, like you see in Tarzan. The babies sort of think they can come down gracefully, and they don't. They tumble out. They fall over your feet. They literally are walking amongst you. I do want to mention, though, I think we were very lucky to be in such close proximity. It is weather dependent as well. I mean, if it's raining, they're going to be hiding under the bushes, and you might see them a little bit from a distance. But literally, we had to move from side to side to give them space to move amongst us. And that 1 hour is spent literally, initially you just want to capture everything on camera. And then the guide said to you, put your phones away and just take the last 15 minutes and be with the gorillas. And that was absolutely just unbelievably peaceful. And you wish you could actually just go up and hug one of them. Obviously, you don't. But that is how calm and how non-aggressive these animals are.
So let's get into some of the details here, because I'm sure there are people, I see some of the comments here, some people saying no, they'd be too afraid to do it, some people saying they can't wait, they want to do this. Ben, you said you've been to Rwanda. Did you meet any gorillas?
No, I went there to go DJ and open a cricket field, so I didn't get into the hills.
What a disappointment.
I know, but I'm not a crook.
Really?
No.
Okay, so what is it?
It's one of those things every person I've spoken to about this said it's just ridiculous. It's so special. You can't describe the presence of these gorillas, being in their presence in the hills, in the quiet. It's like life-changing.
What is it? Is it difficult to get to Rwanda, Maria? And is it expensive to get to Rwanda?
No, easy flights.
Direct flights on Rwanda Air, really reasonable. Probably in a peak season to Cape Town, you pay the same cost to get to Rwanda.
Wow.
I think the expensive part for South Africans is definitely the permits. However, there are times during the year where Rwanda tourism, the usual price is $1,500 US. But they do give us permits at $500, which is worth every single cent. They are also, the hotels we stayed at were just so well equipped. They give you gaiters. I think I do want to mention, Gareth, that having the right clothing is so important when you're going to do this trek. Like I said, I'm not a hiker. I own none of the stuff. I went on the weekend. Loose fitting hiking pants, loose fitting tops, moisture control type of tops. For someone like myself who wears glasses, my recommendation is wear contacts on the day, which I did do, to prevent your glasses from steaming up. I think people think it's all hot.
It's tropical, right?
Yeah. Humid. It is tropical, but it's actually quite cool. But it rains. And the last thing you want to do is be worrying about washing, the rain off your glasses while you're trying to just enjoy the whole experience. So ease of getting there, very easy. Like I said, we work with fantastic destination management company in country that will have everything organized to the T. I was so impressed. The hotel, we stayed at Virunga Inn and Spa. There is a beautiful one and only there as well. We were hosted for a dinner there. It was unbelievable, set in a forest. But the hotel we stayed at, they give you raincoats on the day. They give you gaiters that protect your legs from all of the vegetation you're walking through. You can honestly go there and know that everything's taken care of and the focus is around you having this experience with the gorillas.
One last thing. Sorry, there's just one other thing that people are asking. Is there a best time of year to go to Rwanda?
So, they've got their peak seasons. We went just out. So like December to February is a peak season. We were there early March. It was perfect. Speaking to the local guides, they prefer to go and trek outside of the peak seasons. So really it's an all year round destination. Their weather, we were in about 23 degrees. It was not as humid as I imagined it to be. So very comfortable temperatures. So any time of the year, it's just, you might just experience more rain on the off seasons, but you get up there. You also, if you're not able-bodied, Gareth, they'll carry you up there. They have special chairs and stretchers, and they get 4 porters to literally carry you up the mountain. So they cater for paraplegics or, individuals that just don't have the physical ability. There are people that have done this that are well over the 80s.
Yeah, sure.
All kinds of anybody can actually do this.
Yeah.
I really doubted I'm not a self-doubt kind of person, and I doubted my ability. Yeah. And having now done it myself, you can do it. Anybody can do it. And if you're not able to get up there on your own, they will literally carry
you know what?
up there.
I am sold. You've once again given me an idea for what could be an extraordinary, and you don't have to, because it's not so far away, you could literally go for 2-3 days and have the time of your life.
I gotta go say, Kigali's a great city. Firstly, you probably have the best coffee you've ever had in your life.
Really?
Still to this day, the best cappuccino I ever had was with the hotel breakfast in Kigali. I walked out of a nightclub on like 5 a.m. one morning in Kigali.
Your life has got to come together again.
One of the greatest club nights ever. Huh? It's a cool place. It's very interesting. It's a shock to the senses because it's how clean it is, how much order there is, but it's a place.
I love it. So Maria, thank you very much. Maria Watkins is the GM for leisure at Turvest. And by the way, if anyone wants to know what the best way is to do this gorilla tracking in Rwanda, you can go along to travel.co.za and make your dream holiday a reality.
Easy.
Thank you, Maria.
It's a great pleasure, Gareth. If it's something you do this year, do the gorilla trekking.
Sure, absolutely. Well, don't tell us that we don't come up with great ideas for people who are bored going to Margate every other week. Go to Rwanda. This sounds a lot more fun. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
All right, very good. Okay, so people are going to start thinking that Ben has completely converted me to golf just because of the vast quantity of golf content on the show today. But I am very, very excited to welcome a South African golfer, a guy called Haydn Porteous, who's here in the studio with us this morning. We are chock full of Ben's favorite stuff, because this week is chock full of his favorite thing, which is the golf.
Best week, guys.
Yeah, this is genuinely your favorite week ever on the show.
I mean, last year I had a good year. This year is just already doing so well to like kind of get in there.
All right, so let's meet Haydn. He's popped in to see us. You've been busy, man. We've been trying to track you down to get you on the show. And it's been a bit of a scheduling dilemma.
Yes, it's obviously quite a busy time of the year for us.
Sure.
So, it has been, it's been a lot. And I'm obviously not the best on my phone, so please do forgive me about
dude.
that.
Don't worry.
But firstly, thank you for having me on the
Sure.
show.
Listen, I want to hear your story, because
Yeah.
I was talking to Ben a little bit about, and I don't want to give too much away because it's much more fun if you tell us the whole story. But you're a 3-time European Tour winner. You won at the 2016 Joburg Open. You were at you had a win at the Alfred Dunhill Championship in 2017. Is that right?
No.
Who the fuck gave this information?
You won the Czech
James,
Masters, James.
Get your head out of your ass. So correct what was wrong.
So, Czech Masters.
Right.
Joburg Open.
Right.
And then I did Kenya Open, which was at the time a Challenge Tour event, which is kind of just a...
Okay. So, James, apologize. You get the guy's CV wrong like that. How embarrassing. Now, it says here, again, this could all be lies with James in charge of the running order here. He says, after bursting onto the international scene with a reputation of one of South Africa's most exciting young talents. He has
Don't read it like that, because
the highs and the challenges of life on tour. I mean, this might all be complete nonsense, but Ben knows your story, and he told me that it has been an incredible kind of, like everybody who has a story, there are ups and downs, and your life has changed a lot now, and now you're also a dad, so congrats on that.
Thank you very much.
But tell us a little bit about the career without James's lies.
Yeah, I guess it's, golf's a lot like life,
It's funny how James is getting more burned in this interview now than the previous one. Your testosterone and professionalism are being brought into disrepute here. Sorry, Haydn. Sorry.
No. It's I guess a lot like life. You're going to have your ups and downs.
Sure.
I think the one thing that I will say is, at the end of the day, no one really gives a shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Is golf kind of mercenary that way? Because it's not a... I watched these guys playing in the teams at LIV Golf yesterday, but it's not really a team thing. You're on your own. You have to figure it all out.
We for lack of better terms, we're born and bred to be by ourselves.
Yeah.
And play for ourselves, and probably for our closest family and friends, and that's kind of what's taught me through the ups and downs. The real important people always stick around.
Sure.
And when the going gets bad, there's no one around to help you out, or so you just got to keep going and keep fighting.
All right. I saw these guys yesterday, again, as someone who doesn't live in the world of golf. Pardon the pun.
No pun.
Yeah.
It's weird how you feel you got to keep reminding people of this.
Yeah. Anyway, I do because I absolutely don't have a reference point in this world. It strikes me as this is some people's idea of heaven. These guys are doing what a lot of guys in South Africa do when they have spare time and when they've made enough money to be able to afford during the week to get away from the office and just have a nice time with 3 of their mates and play, 18 holes. And this is a profession for some people, and they get paid an absolute fortune to do it. It seems too good to be true.
Yeah.
And when I see the look on their faces, I can actually tell that these guys can't believe they're living this dream.
Yeah. I mean, I think LIV is definitely something that the majority of golfers actually want to get to, because, your schedule is a lot shorter. You got, 15 or 16 events. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So that gives you the time to be at home with your family. You get paid astronomical amounts of money. It's a bit of a no-brainer, unless you are, the likes of, Rory McIlroy, or, guys who have already sort of made that type of money. So for me, I think if I got the opportunity to go,
you'd do it. Hell yeah.
Show me where I need to sign.
Are you more on, because I cannot believe, again, learning these things yesterday about the the animosity that the PGA has for LIV, and this is a real contest.
Yeah.
These guys do not like each other, and some oaks won't go to certain events because it's the opposition. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The ANC and the DA get better.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of
better.
associational stuff as well. I don't want to get into the politics of that because it's Friday, but you'll find global, internationally, okay, again, I'm not going to name names here. There is a journalist at LIV this week.
Yeah.
He's an American guy, and he is affiliated with all the sort of traditional tours. He is reporting on what's going down there, but he's not mentioning the event. So he'll mention things that will happen, but he'll omit happening at LIV Golf. So he'll talk about players and stuff like that, but at no stage will he reference it because he probably believes his career trajectory is tied with the PGA Tour and those kind of things.
So why don't you guys chase him out with sticks? Isn't that how it's meant to be? Oh, sorry. It's a gentleman's game. Sorry.
It's not a go-to reaction, but it is. I mean, there's a lot of animosity because some people believe that they are the custodians of golf.
Sure.
And therefore they get to run everything. It's like mainstream media hates podcasts because it's taking their lunch. People are more interested in them. And LIV's got a long way to go to actually compete with market share. But they're not trying to compete. It's a very different thing because golf needs other things. So that's why I think it works.
All right. So again, just if nothing else, but then to make Ben extremely jealous, what is the road to becoming a professional golfer? Because a lot of people play, but they're not good enough, and it requires a different kind of mental attitude, let alone skill, let alone dedication and time, and to get there is a very different thing to just play for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I mean, you have to start at a young age. I think there's probably a very small percentage of professional golfers who have started later on. You know,
How old were you?
Well, I was about 3 or 4 where I actually first picked up a golf
Were your
club.
parents slave masters?
Yeah, they had me in chains.
Beat
and,
beat you out of bed and out of your cot onto
It was
the
a
golf
subtle
course.
Christmas gift of here's your future / Christmas
Well,
gift.
I mean, listen, if I had children, I would absolutely brutally raise them to become professional sports stars of some kind because the phenomenal life they could have.
Yeah.
And it's healthy, and you can be in many places in the world, and certainly it's not the worst career trajectory.
You know, I
Better
definitely
than
want
being an
my
accountant.
child to be outdoors and in the sun
Sure.
and just being
So have you
healthy.
started to beat them into golf?
Not just yet. She's 12 weeks.
Oh, it's over. Okay.
I'll give her another couple of weeks before I start doing that.
Okay, but
so.
not too long, because if you wait too long.
No.
So at 3-4, what was the first experience you can remember?
Well, I remember it's probably going to show my age now, but I remember where Sunninghill was basically, just grass.
Yeah.
There was maybe a few apartment blocks. There used to be a driving range there, and my dad took me there. I still actually got pictures, and I can actually remember the day.
That's now the bottom of Rivonia Road.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a major road, yeah.
Which, I still remember quite clearly. And I think I must have been maybe 4, 5 maybe.
Wow.
And
I know 5-year-olds that can't even stand, and you were hitting golf balls.
no, and it's, I don't think I needed, any sort of push to get out and
Did
play
you
a
just
sport.
love it from the start?
Loved it. I also loved my other sports, cricket, soccer. I was a pretty talented sportsman all round. And I think just I got to a certain age where I needed to kind of choose, the sort of avenue that I wanted to take. And, golf has a lot of benefits in the fact that, it pays well. And I think, the thing that's not spoken about is longevity.
Yeah, you can keep doing it,
You can
right?
keep doing it until, you're 50, 55, at a very competitive
beyond.
sort of way. Yeah, and beyond.
So did you pick up a golf club at a young age, even if it wasn't the first time you went, and there was a recognition either from you or from someone else, your dad or whoever, that this kid's got something going on?
Yeah,
Is there a way to tell?
I think, may have been a little bit biased, but I think my dad sort of picked up that I was pretty decent at the game.
Yeah.
But I also had some sort of, whether I've never been diagnosed with it, whether I have ADD or ADHD or all those acronyms.
Why would you say that?
I just think when I really put my mind to something, it's like
a bit obsessive.
Okay.
But you kind of need that if you're going to be a competitive sportsman.
And I think that essentially was something that I have been missing for the last 3 or 4 years. When things started to kind of slow down, my career was kind of stagnant. I started to get myself into a sort of position where I actually don't want to do this right now. I was battling to get myself out of bed and practice because I just felt like I might as well just bang my head against the wall for a couple of hours and go back to bed, because that's kind of the way that it felt. So in a way, in those 3 years, I felt like I lost my identity a little bit. You get brought up to be this kind of person, a golfer, and you wake up one day and you just kind of fall out of love for something that has made me.
Sure.
So I think we need to backtrack a little bit for context there. Like, you were good, not like you were a Sunshine Tour pro and you made a bit of money. You could maybe afford like a BMW or something. So you were like Sunshine Tour Rookie of the Year 2014. Joburg Open back then, like it is now, it's a huge event.
Yeah.
Really, really good field. Okay, so winning that at Royal Johannesburg. I remember being on the 18th green there. It's my home course, big moment. But you were young then, huh?
Very, very.
And what was that?
That's about 10 years
10 years ago?
Yeah.
You played in your first Open Championship also, what, 2016?
2016 as
And
well.
you finished 30th.
Yeah.
So you're early 20s here.
Yeah.
And like,
extremely young.
Did things kind of feel like they came much quicker than you expected? Or did you just think because you were so obsessive with this, because you were just so dedicated, that this was how it's going to be?
Yeah, I think maybe, I guess, not to be all philosophical, but I think, things came so easy to me, at such a young age, that you actually don't learn hardships. You don't learn how hard life can actually be. And, when I started my career, even before that, junior golf to amateur golf, and then that progression to professional golf, everything seemed to just fall on my lap. And, I would say over these last 3 years, you actually learn so much about yourself during the tougher times than I would have ever learned in the first 10 years of being a pro. Whether that's the way that I deal with my emotions or deal with other people. And again, as I said earlier, just finding out who's actually really important in your life. And also the realization that, apart from those people, no one really gives a shit.
So that's interesting, and you've brought it up twice, and I don't think it's by mistake, because people really are, like they are venal to the nth degree. Like, while you're winning, they cannot get enough of you, hey? And it's true in anything. Whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in business, whether you've got some exciting event in your life, you've had some measurable success, and people will swarm around like flies. And as soon as things aren't going as well as they were, they disappear. You never hear from them again. They are out of your life. It's just remarkable to me how that even happens to professional sportsmen at your level.
It's a very human thing, though, because people gravitate towards things because of how it makes them feel. And so I've always loved golf. I've been around golf for a very, very long time. And, I know guys that we got a lot of mutual friends on the Sunshine Tour, and I know their processes. And I often think that because you get into the spotlight through doing something you love and it looks great, it must feel so incredible. And that's why people gravitate towards that. But you're in a very competitive area. So that spotlight does flicker very quickly back and forth. Yeah. And I always find Sunshine Tour events in particular, like the co-sanctioned ones, the vibe on a Tuesday, Wednesday is amazing because everyone's a champion at this stage. Everyone's looking good. They're talking about clubs. Everyone's happy on the range. Get to a Friday where an oak is now 6-7 over. It's a whole hide. It's a whole
Biggest
different
head in the sand.
It's the same person. It's the same person, the same talent, the same abilities, desires, and the same everything. But the change is so hectic.
I think golf is just so different in that aspect. If you look at a 100-meter sprint. If you know you're the best, you're the best. You know, it's Usain Bolt didn't have an ounce of doubt that when he was on that line that he was going to win.
As long as he gets out of those blocks, he's going to win, basically.
Exactly.
He's got everything there. It's going to go in sequence.
And I think that's what makes golf so entertaining is that, and I think everybody loves a little bit of an underdog story, where the 500th best player in the world just beat number 1 in the world, Like it
can happen.
It's quite a nice story, and I think a lot of people kind of, they pick their horses and then let's go, and I think it's really entertaining in that way. But as a golfer, it's incredibly frustrating.
Yolanda in the comments says, my daughter's first toy at the age of 12 weeks was a pink golf grip. So she's got the right idea.
Just the grip.
Just the grip. I mean, she doesn't, you give a 12-week-old golf club, Ben.
Some would say the grip's the most important part of golf. So
sure. She also wants to know, what is your opinion on college golf opportunities? We're in two minds about it. It can become very lonely.
It's a tough one. When I was growing up, I had opportunities to go to the States. I think we live, a reasonably good life in South Africa.
Sure.
With the weather, the golf courses, and especially we also have a lot of good coaches as well. So flying all the way over to America to go live by yourself, surrounded by a lot of bad influences, was actually probably the reason why I didn't go. I think if there's an umming and ahhing on whether it's actually something you want to do as a career, then I would say go for it. You get to sort of experience your dream, and find yourself as well. And on top of that, you get a pretty power education. So I would say go for it. I mean, if you look at the amount of aspiring golfers there are versus how many actually end up making it, you would probably opt for the educational route.
All right, so to go back to your story here, because I do think this is an amazing story. So at some point, the magic just went away, right?
Yeah.
All these things that Ben was talking about, these tremendous achievements at a young age, and for you it felt kind of effortless. You said you hadn't really suffered, but like anybody's story, there's a point where the hero gets challenged, right? So what happened there? Do you remember how it all started to just get bleak and horrible and uninteresting?
I think we're in quite a small bubble in South Africa.
Sure.
You get told you're the best. You are the best in the country. You find a bit of success and you move over into Europe and you think, well, now I'm actually not the best, because now there's another 100 guys who are pretty darn good, and that mental shift of going, okay, well, I was the best. Now I need to actually get better, because there's not really much that's separating me between the first and the last guy. So, that sort of mental shift was quite difficult to take, because we would all love to win every single week, but it's just not doable unless you're Tiger Woods, right? So that was a huge step. And also being away from home, I lived in Europe for close to 6.5, 7 years. Culturally very different. Weather was okay. It's not as bad as people make it out to be.
Sure.
However, we do follow the sun, so I didn't get the worst bit of it. So being able to kind of, just get accustomed to the different sort of climate, the different people, and just the different food. That's
all right. So when it went wrong, I imagine that all the glory of what you'd achieved so much earlier in your career kind of just faded into the background, and then you start thinking, no doubt, because all of us in our various lives and our endeavors experience the same thing. You start thinking, oh my God, have I had the best of me?
Yeah.
And now it's done.
Yeah.
That was it.
But the thing is, I think everybody has that little voice in their head.
Yeah.
throughout good times and bad times. I think whether you listen to it more or less is the more important question. You know, I think when I was younger, I definitely had the same thoughts that I have now. I just didn't listen to them when I was younger. Whereas now, you know, you're actually taking in what you're listening to, or saying to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of being able to distance yourself from thoughts is the real difficult and probably the most important piece of mastery that you can get. You know, I read a lot of, you know, self-help books. Nothing really tickled me, to be completely honest. I felt like it was just pretty monotonous. You know, everything was kind of to the same degree, you know, very, very similar, until I got to a book called The Untethered Soul, where it just spoke about, you know, just the thought of you trying to be more positive is already a negative connotation. So if you're just content with who you are, then you're in a good place, because I don't think you're necessarily going to be able to change your whole being the way that you are. And I think it really spoke to me, and it's something that I listen to not all the time, but occasionally.
And thence the other people don't really care.
Yeah.
As you said, give a shit. So why are there so many of us in professional sport, in normal business and industry, and friendships, relationships, with family? Why are we all so easily swayed by the opinions of others when they stop thinking about you about 3 seconds after they've stopped talking to you?
I think it's maybe just a sense of belonging, you know, into certain groups. You know, I want to be kind of recognized as being cool. I want to be recognized as successful. You know, I think image is a huge part of our lives. You know, it basically puts us into certain categories. You know, whether you're successful, unsuccessful, poor, rich, and I think that's kind of that's our human nature, to become that way. And I think that's okay. But how you deal with those people floating into those different aspects is up to you.
And nobody doesn't love the story of someone coming back from that and you're starting to win again, and you're starting to do amazing things there. Ben can probably speak more about that than I can.
Yeah,
but that must feel good, right?
Yeah,
getting back in your stride.
Real good, real good.
Well, it's like a validation of all these efforts. So even if you do get your mindset back in the right place, like, you have to translate that into the actual wins.
Yes,
I remember watching when Dane Fern, was it last year?
About 2-3 years ago, definitely.
I think it was about 2 years.
Dane Fern, hey?
Yeah, and it was down. So in a playoff, and this is your chance, right, to come back into this. And I mean, like, he hits the ball a particularly long way. I mean, he just gets the club to do things. And I mean, like, maybe adrenaline of the moment. Now you're in a winning position again. You hit your drive probably further than you think. It goes into the rough. You're not getting a good position. You finish second that week.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this whole thing about being like DP World Tour, being on the big tours, is that if you play well in an event, you're making good cash.
Yeah.
If you do well in Sunshine Tour, you have to do particularly well to actually make it, like, financially.
Very top heavy.
So you really got to be at that top there. So now, after like finishing second, after all that time, I mean, were you able to take a massive positive out of that, or was it like another frustrating kind of thing in the context of where you were there?
Yeah, I mean, of course it was frustrating, but I think, you know, leading up to that week as well, you know, it's just about stepping stones and just trying to just increment yourself just a little bit better. You know, I wouldn't say I was particularly happy with my game at that stage. I'm definitely in a much happier, free state of mind when I go out to play golf. But I think the biggest blessing was me losing everything in terms of status, in terms of, I went from DP World to Challenge Tour, lost my tour card on the Sunshine Tour, so I essentially became jobless. I was unemployed.
Did you have to do shitty golf days for corporates? Did you?
Yeah. I anything for a buck, right? So And I think that was maybe the turning point where I was like, okay, well, now there's no expectation.
Yeah.
And now you can actually just go out there, be free.
There's nothing more dangerous than someone who's got nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Right.
And I think now, moving my way up the ranks has given me a sense of,
What
I'm
was the
actually starting
What was
to-
the
to
cuckest
get
golf
this.
course you had to play with the cuckest people when you were at your lowest? Come on, I want to hear. Like when you were this close to saying, this golf thing is absolute shit.
I remember we played a golf day in Austria, and it was probably the hilliest golf course I have ever played in my life. And we had 3 amateurs.
I believe that course was made for Hitler. I think it was his favorite course. Yeah,
And 3 amateurs, 2 golf carts, and the pros weren't allowed to ride in the golf carts. And it's probably about a 15K walk up and down, and you just never got to talk with the amateurs. It was just me, myself, and I just pulling my trolley. It was just brutal. Great course, but the hills, I'm out for that.
Yeah, that challenge tour is a very lonely place. I mean, most of golf is a very lonely place, and it's so cool when you do play the big events. There's like the courtesy cars, everyone looks after you.
well, I mean, just watching the guys yesterday where they got
does not exist
music
in the world.
and everybody kind of shouting "yay" at the end when they good shot. There's some fat Dutchman at the back of every hole.
No, it's like
a good shot, eh?
but there's like thousands of people, many golf tournaments around the world. You're playing in front of trees.
Yeah.
And it's no slight in the profession. It's just that they are not well, so that you can't feed off anything. If you're having a tough day, you're hearing your thoughts in the wind, literally. Like you can't putt, you drive like shit. Whereas everything you saw yesterday was so happy. Look, it's always going to be very, very daunting. But I mean, like, so last year winning at Gowrie, I've just been to Gowrie. First time I've played it as the full 18.
I'm not crazy about the new 9.
It needs some time.
It needs a lot of time.
It needs some time, and it needs some of the dimensions in the greens maybe weren't properly thought out. But such an amazing place.
It was actually my first time I've ever been that side. Absolutely loved it. It's got a cool aura about it. Like it's got this kind of like European.
How often do you play now? Every day.
Yeah. Apart from
That's great,
there's maybe a couple of days where I just can't be bothered. But
and what's your home course?
I play out of Royal Johannesburg in Kensington.
Amazing place.
Great place
Yours as well, right?
Great, yeah.
And they've been good to me as well. Even when I was struggling, they gave me the opportunity to still be an ambassador there and practice and play. And they really have been awesome.
And now
to me.
being a dad and a husband and all of that stuff has that changed your outlook on things too?
Yeah, that's shifted my perspective a bit. I think this year, well, when I say this year, 25, 26 has been some of the happiest moments of my life. I lost my dad 5 weeks ago now.
Sorry, man.
So that was really tough to take. I'm glad that he got to meet the little one Harley, which was, I think that gives me a little bit of peace. But yeah, I mean, I've gone through some of the happiest times in my life, and then obviously losing my dad, being probably my best friend, my biggest supporter, has been a really tough one. There are days where, I'm okay, and then there's days where I just really struggle with it. But it's life. It's inevitable. And I was glad that the week after he passed away, I played SA Open at Stellenbosch. And I played for him, did really well, came 6th, and I just know that he was looking down, and
hell of a performance.
Gave me a lot of happiness. So, anyways, not to
No.
make it all dark
I
and
find
sad,
that
but
But I mean,
interesting,
it adds like you're 31 years old, right? In golf years, that's like just getting really going, especially with the mental attributes that are needed to these kind of things. So physically, and this is, again, if you go to a tournament, you watch Oaks on the range, you look at them and go, they're all shooting 65. you've got all those physical attributes. Now you've got like a mental side, a mental hardening. And like you say, you've actually had hardship and you've come out the other side.
Yeah.
Like, full well, there's guys that go into that and don't come out again.
Yeah.
It's a very...
I think the biggest thing was the fact that I've been where I want to be. You know, I had that in the back of my mind saying, I can do this, because I know I've done it before. Where there are a lot of guys who are still just trying to get past that questioning part of themselves. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Can I play there? So that was kind of my anchor that kind of kept things, sort of together. But yeah, I think people don't realize how hard this game really is. You know, there's so many different parts to the game. And you talk about mental attributes. I think it's probably the biggest, because, you can look down that range and there's different shapes and sizes. And at the end of the day, your mental game is what's going to get you through everything.
Yeah, in all other sports, if you're in a bit of a rut, you can just try harder. Like if you, and again, if you're in a team sport, some of the guys can lift you up a little bit. You can try harder. Rugby, you can be a bit more focused, take a few more tackles, train a bit harder.
You're just exposed in golf.
You're so exposed, and sometimes the more you try, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, from my point of view, a very stupid question, but you may be kind enough to think that it's not so stupid. When you hit the ball, before you actually connect with the ball, do you have any idea of how that shot's going to go?
Totally.
Yeah,
at his level for sure.
There's definitely an idea of how
you
how
calibrate everything in your head first.
Yeah. So I mean, there's, you'll look at a shot, and at the end of the day, it's something that I've done my whole life. So it becomes sort of natural. You'll see a golf shot. I want it to go high and right to left, just because it makes the shot easier. Or okay, the trouble's on the right, so I want to start it away from the trouble and move it towards the trouble, so that it's not going to get into the trouble. So there are lots of aspects, and yes, I mean we visualize a lot of the golf shots that we hit.
So when people say just hit it, and people are like, oh, golf's so boring, there's a process that happens there. So for example, like he was saying, you can shape the golf ball. So if there is trouble, say you're going at a pin, right, and the pin's in the back left, ideally what you would like to do is to go right to left around that. So you're visualizing that, but then you've got to set up in a way that your swing plane will be flatter. So
yeah, but you remember
right to left.
talking to me. The only people I've watched at close quarters is like drunks who have...
It's basically, in tennis, you would have a forehand.
Yeah, great example.
Right.
Which would be your right to left.
Okay.
And then a slice would be left to right. So
Steeper.
You would be changing kind of the way that you swing, just to manipulate the golf ball in a certain way.
And it's obviously, like every sport, a hugely competitive thing. But it does seem to me like golfers, maybe because it's a gentrified game. It's a noble pursuit in a way that, like, footballers will kind of tackle each other in a much more aggressive way. Doesn't seem to me like golfers, they're more playing against themselves than they are against each other. And therefore they're all nice to each other and get along.
Yeah. I mean, you literally, the only way that I can put it is you're playing against the worst version of yourself in a mirror.
Yes. That's the most terrible thing. That's frightening, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's true.
It is. And then
Sure.
And that version's relentless.
Yeah. and he's just not your friend. It's and I think that's why we're probably quite nice to each other, because we're so ugly to ourselves. So,
shit, that's a realization.
Yeah.
So with like the next few seasons coming up, I mean, do you have really like express goals about where you want to go, or like how much forward planning do you do, considering that golf is so unpredictable?
Well, I think climbing. I think the number one goal is to carry on climbing the world rankings. If you're climbing world rankings, you're going to climb on the order of merit, domestically, and you're going to open a lot of doors to other aspects. I think if you get yourself into the top 100 in the world, that opens a lot of doors in terms of, sponsor invites, maybe even the conversation to get onto the LIV. I'm not saying that LIV is my goal, but at least just starting the conversation of potentially playing there. At the end of the day, world ranking means everything, and as long as you're climbing, you're in a good place.
So, I mean, like, are there particular events that you want to maybe try? Now you're about to go into the sort of dormant season of the Sunshine Tour locally. So there's opportunities in Europe, maybe there's opportunities in Asia. Are there certain pinpointed events in your sort of radar now for that?
Right now, I think obviously with the newborn, I think the most important thing to me now is spending that time with my family. So during this dormant time, I think that's what I want to do is spend time with my family and just enjoy things that I've never experienced. I think watching her grow so quick, I just don't know if I could live with myself missing some of those milestones. So I think that's my number one goal.
That's good. That's great.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, one thing that I will look back on is golf was my identity, and whenever somebody introduced me to someone, this is the guy I was telling you who plays golf. It's like, well, my name's Haydn, and I'm not just a golfer. Imagine if I introduced you. Hi, this is the podcast I was telling you.
I know, people do, and it's horrible.
That's what I do.
But after I've kicked them in the fucking balls, and they usually calm down a little. No, I'm kidding. But tell me about your wife, because a lot of women complain, I'm a golf widow, and my husband always at the golf course. But they're really only going like one day a week if they're lucky. And this harpy sits at home complaining when she could, because she doesn't have any friends. That's why she complains about him playing golf. And I'm being very mean to the odd golf widow. But how does your wife deal with the fact that you have to do this all the time? And you're out there for a long time. It's not a tennis match.
No,
it's not a quick 30-minute run, for example. You're out there for a while.
And even the practice is time consuming. My wife Nicole, I mean, she's an incredible woman. She has her own career that she's trying to pursue. Incredibly smart. She works at Investec, and I think she's doing very well for herself.
No slouch.
No. It's most of the time I'd be.
Did she know that you were a tremendous golfer when she first met you?
No.
Oh.
No. We actually, we met at a birthday party. I was a bit worse for wear, having a nap on the balcony. And
it's a great place to meet women.
It is, and I wouldn't say I blew her away.
Yeah. So underwhelming.
Yes, slightly. Okay. I had extremely long hair as well, which I think
really?
was all over the place. And what's a pretty girl like you doing by herself?
Oh shit!
That type of.
That is such a double
So,
bogey. That fuck's sake! If I had to rate it, that's piss poor. Wow.
Yeah.
And she still gave you a second chance.
You know what? At the end of the day, it worked. So.
And okay, so how long have you guys been together?
So we've been together now, coming to 2 years. So it's been relatively quick.
And she's very supportive of the golf, and she's
extremely supportive as long as I do the right things.
Sure. I.e. win.
Exactly. But, just putting my mind to it and giving it everything that I have. She doesn't want to see me kind of lying on the couch doing nothing and complaining about that I'm not playing good enough. As long as she sees that I put the work in and, slaps me on the wrists when I'm not. Then
good. We all need a little bit
Yeah.
of management.
We do,
right?
Especially as a golfer.
Sure.
You don't actually have a manager to tell you you need to work harder. That's all coming from you. Self-management, doing the right things.
And Haydn, what is your favorite thing to do when you're not thinking about or playing golf?
Tennis
Oh God. Okay, more sport.
More sport.
Add that to
tennis. Yeah, I do enjoy the odd cold beer.
Okay,
That's
nothing wrong with
nothing
that.
wrong with
You wouldn't be South African if you
No,
didn't.
no, and obviously a good braai.
Yes.
Apart from that, now that I think about it, extremely boring as well.
No, but
Selective. I stopped calling myself boring a long time ago.
Yeah, I would have. An old version of me would have said, "Yeah, that's probably a bit boring." But now I realize simplicity and knowing what you enjoy, and having a very small number of things you enjoy, is the key to happiness.
It really is.
People who are miserable and unhappy is because their mind is in 10 different places. They think this will make them happy, then they achieve that, and it doesn't make them happy, and they slowly realize like. A lamb chop is fucking plenty. You know, when I have a good steak,
when that
I've
fat's
had,
rendered,
Are you actually talking about lamb
choppy?
Yeah, no,
with
I'm
a
talking about that.
Draft, it just doesn't
And
get
dude, it's fantastic. And even yesterday, I saw some of these guys. Ben has obviously been knee deep in LIV Golf now for 3 days. He's going for his 4th today. But I went with no expectations, and I saw some of these people. They were the happiest. I'm sure that they've been certainly all year this year and maybe even including last year. Just something to drink, watching other people doing something extraordinarily well.
And I think also they had a pretty good excuse with the misses as well. You know. This is the first ever LIV.
First ever.
That's it.
It's,
So they got
And with the
green
bus,
ticket.
because a lot of these
Genuine
people,
biggest thing in golf.
a lot of these people, you could see they were bunking work. Plenty of them, right?
Definitely,
You could see the look
definitely.
in their eyes. They were bunking.
Yeah.
When that's from the first tee yesterday, 10, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to the last 2 Ryder Cups. I mean, obviously Ryder Cups are bigger, so you can't really kind of completely compare. But pound for pound vibe, nothing like that in sports.
Really,
the
yeah.
goosebumps, the guys. I mean, Louis and Charles talking about tearing up genuinely in the press conference afterwards. Louis was talking like a 16-year-old boy. That normal confidence wasn't quite there. He was really emotional. And Oaks were cracking beers at 9:30.
Don't blame
Taps were getting poured.
Yeah.
It was great. Guys were out here. It was like they've been looking forward to it for so long, and all the sort of
just
expectation, it all sort of like just came out in that moment.
But again, I mean, even I must be honest. At SA Open, I'm sure you were there as well.
I don't go to a lot of. I don't travel locally for those things.
It's disappointing.
I'm not a big enough deal, Haydn. I mean, I get invited to LIV, but not Sunshine Tour.
Yeah.
Tell me, in South Africa, we've got some amazing courses, and again, for people who don't necessarily play golf, will still be fascinating because I think part of the excitement here for everybody is that you're in beautiful surroundings. It's like the biggest, best gardens in the country, right?
Yeah.
So that alone is a good enough reason to get out there. What are your favorite places in South Africa to ply your trade?
So, obviously Cape Town's an incredible place in general.
Or when the wind's not blowing.
When the wind's not blowing.
Sure.
It's cuck for golf.
Not great for golf. So, I would say probably the best down that side is Pearl Valley.
Okay.
Next week I go to De Zolzo, which I've heard good things. I've never played there before, so we'll see.
Isn't that where
what
the
that's all
ex-murderer
about.
lived?
That was the Bradar family residence.
Yeah. They were there. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh,
But it's a nice golf course. It's got
Sure,
better
I
things
mean, you
going.
can't blame it's not the golf course's
Yeah, I mean,
fault that there was an ex-murderer living in the estate.
No, De Zolzo's great. There's some
Sure.
really strong holes. It's
Yeah.
significantly better than Stellenbosch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cool. But it's an estate course. So.
Yeah.
Wasn't Pearl Valley the other option for LIV?
Yeah.
Briefly, and
they
then
have
they
enough
realized
space?
there wasn't.
That's-
there
but-
wasn't room.
It's so LIV needs a good driving range. They have to have it. So Pearl Valley's got a good driving range. Pekinwood's got a good driving range. Stainslee's got a good driving range. Not many other courses have good driving ranges because
there's actually a lack.
There's a massive lack of space. But Pearl Valley will not be able to do what Stain City is doing. There's just not enough space. There's more congestion of homeowners, I think.
Leopard Creek would have been a decent option, but there's just no accommodation.
True.
Yeah, and also people would just ruin that lovely course.
Yeah.
Just too many people.
Which on that note, I mean, that's also up there with probably one of the best courses, not in South Africa, but in the world.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And then there's another course in Rustenburg, Millvale. I don't know if you know it. It's
very private, huh?
Yeah.
As someone who doesn't play golf, I can say I've driven around the whole damn thing on a golf cart.
Yeah, it's
pretty spectacular.
Also
huh?
impressive little track that.
And you probably were on your own.
No,
Taking
actually,
as long as you wanted, or
I played it. I played Investec Cup, so
Okay.
I was only lucky enough to play it 4 times with a practice round. So, but haven't been invited again. So
I'm pretty sure
I'd
now
love
that
to go again.
now with your partnership with Investec, you might crack a nod with that.
Yeah, I've
Or
Hint,
if,
hint.
or if your wife really pushes the boat out as well, she's
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
I'm
you
definitely.
could tie up the loose
I
ends
think
inside.
that's my only route or avenue of getting onto that golf course again.
Let's make a video. I'll take on you. You give me 10 shots at Millvale.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Let's make it. I reckon it'd be a great video. Give me like 3 weeks to get out of my current work state. Practice a bit of short game. But I mean, like when you play really great golf courses, and obviously in tournament play, you're very focused. Do you actually still have the time to like go, cheaper, this course is great? Like, do you really still get that?
It's funny. I mean, I was listening in on your earlier conversation with travel woman.
Maria,
Get her name.
or it could have been the doctor about the GLPs. We've had a lot going on this morning.
I was laughing about that because I was listening to her driving here, and I actually gained more weight than my missus during her pregnancy.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
That's
It
sympathetic.
really is.
Huh, okay.
And now she's lost it, right? And now I'm stuck at probably like a 32 kilo deficit. So I might have to give him a call at some stage.
He'll help you. He
Yeah.
seems to know his shit. I mean, that doctor's really got his
Peptide
act here.
James. When he sat down, did he not look like James?
Peptide James. Is that what you just called him?
As he
Dr.
sat-
Alistair
as he sat
McAlpine,
down, I
and
was
you
like,
called him Peptide
Holy
James.
shit, this guy is like if James did everything right for the next 20 years of his life. No, I mean it as a compliment. That guy is like my age.
When is your appointment with him?
I'm not there yet.
But going back to that, you're saying taking in the scenery. And she was talking about Kigali. I was actually there last year. And because you're there for work, right?
Right.
You don't actually get to experience these things that she was talking about. Being with the silverbacks and what have you. I did get to see how clean the streets were, and how well it was actually run. And that's the case for most of the events that we play. When I was in Europe, you very rarely got to actually experience what these places were all about. You might maybe on the off chance go see the Eiffel Tower, which, to be honest with you, is
underwhelming too.
Gone backwards.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
because of the kind of the scammers who operate under there, right?
And they just want to sell you everything
Yeah.
that you just don't need. You just don't need those.
Terrible.
So
Paris is frankly disappointing because of it's just rubbish now. It's just full of people who are just crooked and from third world countries and have made the place unmanageable.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the majority of Europe's become that way in general.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Europe's got big problems. I'd rather have our problems.
Yeah.
Honestly, and having seen what you get to see at events like the one that Ben's at the moment, we can do things really well when we try.
Yeah, definitely, and I think the sort of private institutions are really pushing these sort of agendas that South Africa actually need.
Yeah,
because the government's not going to do it, and I read Gautrain has gone to.
Apparently
the
they're
government as
taking
well.
the Gautrain back. Listen, this is something we should all be worried about. So the Gautrain has largely been run by a consortium that's been managing it for a long time, and apparently the Gauteng local
like being paid off.
provincial government is going to start managing it at some point. So I mean, you can just imagine what's going to happen to it from then on. I mean, these are the same people who brought you potholes. And no water. So let's not hold our breaths on that. I do want to bring up this thing quickly, and I thought maybe while Haydn's here, he might appreciate this as well. So this is a politician who is going to explain how he creates jobs. Don't know which country he's from, but he kind of says everything that you need to hear. Take a look at this.
Honorable, in the next financial year, you said you're going to create 840,000 jobs. How are you going to create them?
Ooh, there are so many things. Let me tell you.
Buffering.
Yeah, there we go. Let me tell you, there's so many things.
Turning circle on his
That's
forehead.
great.
Yeah, I just think Uganda. There's this really great.
You think it's Uganda, huh?
Yeah, my favorite history podcast now that I was telling you about a few weeks ago, Finn versus History. They do a whole thing about Idi Amin and Uganda, and it's basically just like clips of that with historical references.
Speaking of politicians, one last thing I want to throw in, and then we got to wrap up for today, is Helen Zille is running for mayor of Johannesburg, and she started a social media account a while ago. She was posting all of her usual stuff, but this Joburg stuff is really taking off. I do want you to take a look at this because it got me thinking. You know, we moan a lot about Karens, you know, the kind of people who complain about their neighbors or ask for the manager or whatever. But watching Helen in this video, I found myself thinking, actually what we need is more Karens. Karens are an important part of the ecosystem.
Well, if delivery and execution is their identity, then yeah, sure.
And I mean, Helen is in some ways, she's beyond a Karen. She's a super Karen. I mean, this is a woman who, again, is in her 70s and is willing to take on the job of managing Johannesburg, a job that none of us would do. Not even for, you know, professional golfer money. We wouldn't want to run running Johannesburg is an absolute hellhole. And to try and get this city right would be very, very difficult. But here she is. This is Helen traipsing around. And, I mean, you see her bending over a pothole. I mean, it's all kind of... it's not the job anyone else wants. And if Helen wants it, I say give it to her. Take a look.
This is a sinkhole in the middle of Durban Road in Johannesburg. This entire road is being held together by this much asphalt. When this conks in, cars will fall into a massive sinkhole. And as we walk just a couple of meters down the road, here we are. It's been like this since the 29th of January. This massive hole with fresh water bubbling out into it and running into the street. Tar lying all over the road, making a complete obstacle course and hazard. This one lane has to be circumvented and it's not even blocked off formally. Cars driving down here at night with obviously no street lights working would collide into this and someone would get killed. This is the middle of the road that I'm walking on.
I mean, really,
how would you not want that woman to be in charge of this?
Look at her.
She genuinely looks like she gives a shit.
And she's like giving you the David Attenborough of slums tour. Look at the hole. Do you see this ground? People are going to die. It's the middle of the road. There's water coming out. Fucking, it's bad.
Doesn't he turn 100 soon?
What, Joburg?
No, Attenborough. David Attenborough.
Oh, yeah. He's
very good chance, yeah.
Joburg's over 100. David Attenborough's very close to 100. Helen Zille's only in her 70s. She's got a long way to go. That woman she's sure super Karen, but we need more of them. And I'm telling you, I'm reforming my ideas on everything has a place in the ecosystem, even the Karen.
David Attenborough raises his bat 8th of May this year.
Shit.
100 not out.
Spot on, Haydn. You said 100. Wow.
He's actually the reason why the tennis ball is yellow.
Really?
Yeah.
What a fascinating fact at the end of the show. Go on.
So he was, I think, part of the BBC, and when they were televising tennis, the ball was, I think, white at the time.
Yeah, it was always white in the
beginning. It was really difficult for the TV to actually follow the ball. And so he said, well, why don't we just turn the balls yellow?
Really like someone to suggest the colour yellow.
I'm pretty sure his first idea was make it the colour of a bonobo, and they were like, yes, tone it down a bit, David. Because he would have definitely
What about a spitting lizard? No, let's go with yellow. Yellow, you were right on the money there. All right, listen, gentlemen, thank you very much. Ben's off to watch
I'm
some
going to go
more
fight
golf.
with traffic.
And you are going to have, no doubt, a weekend of golf as well.
Be definitely going. I'll be going to LIV on Saturday.
Oh, fantastic!
And
in between playing your own.
Exactly.
Very, very good. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Nice to meet you, man.
Thank you, Gareth.
Thank you to everybody else. We will see you next week, Friday. Be good, everybody. Ciao.